thinks my nose is bleeding again. Bro, it's like... Oh. No worries. It is. It's just gross.
It's not.
So I'm going to try and just utilize my notes on my computer the whole time. I mean, shit, maybe this will be the opportunity for the whole show to go paperless. But I didn't bring my adapter to plug my computer in. So, better than average chance I get halfway through the show, lose my battery, and then, boop, okay, now what? We'll just wing it.
Well, I hope for everyone.
And just wing it, it's not even a sponsor of the show. Yeah. Yes, so we can document and record this bullshit for later.
You have hope at 11.
I have hope all the time.
Good. Good. I'd feel upset for you if you didn't.
What I don't understand is it keeps telling me that I'm connected. And then as soon as I go to hit print, it says server offline.
What do you want the title for this one to be? I can change it as we live.
I legit don't know yet.
Alright, when you have one, let me know.
Yeah.
We can change it and do whatever, as long as it's while we're live still.
Yeah.
And then I have to get those cuts for the 35 second.
They're in my email. Good morning, everybody. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We call it Mornings with Brian Haldane. We are in motion. We are off and running. We are ready to roll for this morning's show, or at least this morning's show is rolling, whether we're ready or not. Hope you are as well. Ready, that is. And, of course, on board with us throughout the morning. Got a big show lined up for you today. Got a lot of guests that are kind of all over the place, literally and figuratively. All over the place topics-wise, all over the place geographically, all over the place scattered throughout the morning. Our guest list starts at 6:52. King Richard Lipsey. He's the king of this year's Washington Mardi Gras, and he is joining us to talk about being the king of this year's Washington Mardi Gras. If you're not familiar with the concept of Washington Mardi Gras, it is quite possibly one of the coolest things that we do. In fact, Jake will be leaving after tomorrow's show, if I'm not mistaken. You do not have permission to leave before tomorrow's show.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Just so we're clear.
Yes.
Your girlfriend is the queen?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Washington Mardi Gras is going to be going on at the D.C. Hilton later on this – I mean, all right. Seriously. Royalty, man.
This is my first Mardi Gras ball in general, so
It's different than all the ones down here. It's super duper cool. You're gonna love it.
I've heard a lot of different things, and I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know how to make promises about this one because of the COVIDs.
Yeah.
And this isn't here; it's up there, so I don't know what their restrictions are. It's just there's going to be a lot of weirdness surrounding it. That played a big part in why we're not going.
Yeah.
Jay and I were looking at making plans to head up there, but that did not come to fruition. Next year, we'll be back at it for sure.
I'll keep you both in spirits.
All right, I appreciate that. Pun on the spirits? Okay. Doing a little drinking. So we're going to talk to your Queen's King, Richard Lipsey. You know him, you love him. He, the owner and founder of Lipsey's and a number of other businesses locally. Washington Mardi Gras puts Louisiana on a national stage, front and center in a big way. And the craziest thing about it is when you're walking through the D.C. Hilton at the time, you're going to run into people from all around the state. It's like we go up there to do business that is handled down here. Anyway, that's 6:52. We'll talk about it with Richard then. In our 7 o'clock hour, every Tuesday we talk with the folks from the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. This week they said, can we hand you off to the LSU Development Director for Innovation and Ecosystem, Andy Maas? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Why would we want to do that? Well, LSU has recently been named as the you know what? Now's probably as good a time as any for me to go ahead and let you know I was not able to print my show prep for this morning. So, like, literally everything that I've got to do, I've got to stop and search for individually. LSU was recently named as the Louisiana Small Business Development Center Network, the hub, the host organization for this development network. We're going to talk with Andy about that at 7:15. 7:35, let's talk about tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We knew the president was going to do this. He has since done it. Dan Eberhart is the CEO of Canary LLC. They are an oil outfit, and he's been on the show a couple times. You see him on Fox Business and CNBC a lot. I want to ask this question. Why are we tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve rather than putting Louisianans and Texans and Oklahomans back to work? This seems like a perfect opportunity to bypass the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, increase the supply side, increase jobs, and get back to the business of being Americans. We'll talk with Dan at 7:35. In our 8 o'clock hour, got 2 interviews lined up there as well. 8:15 is kind of a make-up one here, all right? Comedian Dusty Slay was supposed to be on with us Friday before last. If you don't know who Dusty Slay is, go check him out sometime between now and then. We're having a good time. Dusty Slay is a, how can I put this? If the Blue Collar Comedy Tour had an honors class, he'd be the valedictorian. I mean, it's like smart redneck. It's not hee-haw. You know, it's full, but it's redneck humor for sure. Anyway, he was supposed to be on with us Friday before last. He caught the COVIDs. Couldn't talk without coughing the whole way through it. I said, let's get a make-up date. He said, sure. He's got a new comedy special out on Netflix. Can't wait to talk with him at 8:15. And we will wrap up the guest list at 8:35 with Erin Bendily with the Pelican Institute. This week is National School Choice Week. Going to talk with Erin about that. What does that mean here in Louisiana? We've seen school choice grow by leaps and bounds in recent years in the major metropolitan areas. And actually, shout out to Bayou Gal on Twitter, who says, why are they all in Baton Rouge and not in Ascension and Livingston? Well, they're not all in Baton Rouge. They're also in New Orleans. They're also in Shreveport. But they are in all major metropolitan areas. Are we going to see school choice in the surrounding areas in the very near future? We got all that and a whole lot more. There were a ton of press conferences yesterday. We will get to as much audio as we can from those. Oshner had one, so we'll talk COVID. The governor had one about his budget. We've got some audio from that. And I'm still trying to pull up audio from Police Chief Murphy Paul's press conference where he talked about some recent crime initiatives and some recent crime arrests. All that's coming your way throughout the morning this morning. We do have to take a quick break, though. Before we take that break, got to remind you again about the folks over at Hope Ministries and RiseLA.biz, RiseLA.biz. We are in a workforce crisis. Told you about Dan Eberhart coming on the show later on. An opportunity to put people back to work. Well, RiseLA.biz is also an opportunity to put people back to work. And do so while raising your bottom line. Companies all across the state are experiencing a revolving door of low to middle income employees. Businesses are having trouble keeping their heads above water. A lot of those low-income employees, they live paycheck to paycheck. It is almost impossible not to be drowning right now. And I mean, unless you're going the full-on unemployment route and benefits route from the government. So Rise LA wants to help out with this. Fred Keller's the founder and chair of Cascade Engineering. He changed the way his company did business, getting hundreds of employees off of welfare while raising profits at the same time. Louisiana can rise to the challenge. Learn more at RiseLA.biz. Rise LA, we all rise together. Quick break, coming back with sports next. This is going to be a shit show. Well, this isn't plugged in. I leave my plug in at home because I open the computer for maybe half an hour during the day. Just to... Oh, and I got to get you Richard's phone number. It's in my phone. All right, let me try this shit again. Please say it magically connected. Cool. So you did get Sterlitz back up.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I opened up Sterlitz again, and bizarrely,
It all came back.
play and stop buttons were like the window is here, play and stop button was right here, like completely separate, like its own little thing. So I just clicked.
Like off the window.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen before.
So weird.
Yeah.
But I put it back up, and it's fine now. So.
Yeah.
All right, we have about a minute and some change. So we just have 17, 18, 19, and then the Brady cuts.
Yes.
Which one do you know? Which ones you want to use first?
17, 18, 19.
Okay, and I'm looking at them now, and none of them are just use casts, so we should.
Thank you.
We should be good. That was really annoying yesterday. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I'm getting with Chris a little bit later on, either today or sometime over the rest of this week. Once you get back from DC, we're going to have a very specific job description because, you're not just a board op. You are the producer of the show, and that needs to, you've had enough time to grow and learn. Now it's time to take over.
Okay.
So, not take over, you know what I mean? Take ownership of the role.
Yeah.
So we will have that for you once you're back from DC. It's gonna be good.
Forward to it. We have about 30 seconds.
Okay. .616, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. It is sports time. Let's talk about the future. What does the future hold for Sean Payton? Well, he's back from vacation, but what about his coaching future? Questions about Payton's status as coach of the Saints found their way to Gail Benson Monday. She didn't have any updates. She didn't know. Sean Fazan with Fox 8 New Orleans was the one that actually caught up with her. However, Rod Walker, who covers the Saints for NOLA.com, thinks Ms. Benson is much like the rest of the Who Dat Nation, just waiting on Sean himself as his processes are one of the most, this is following one of the most exhausting seasons of his career.
I think she was honest with it, and she doesn't know, and I don't think any of us know. So I think it's kind of based on how this season went. Probably did take a bit of a toll on Sean in comparison to the previous, 4 or 5 years when this team was in the playoffs, and, things are looking really good.
So it might be easy to say, yeah, Sean Payton will be back. He's got so much to prove still as a coach, but a lot of folks are saying that's not the case. And TV can make very lucrative offers. I don't think Coach Payton would leave the Saints to go coach another team directly. But if he were offered a sweet gig, I mean, imagine, I know that it's not available right now, but imagine if Football Night in America, every Sunday night on NBC, it was Payton and Breeze back together. Or with Amazon moving into the market to take over the Thursday games, they're going to fling stupid money around too. And if they're not flinging it around directly at him, they're going to fling it at somebody who is going to leave a void at another network. And he could fill in there. The TV dollars make the grind of coaching look very disfavorable. That being said, though, for a lot of guys, it's just in their blood. There's a number of obstacles this past season. Even with that, the Saints were in contention for the playoffs, which could contribute to Peyton wanting to come back and just get one step further, right? Do it without Drew Brees. Now, on-field future of the team still looks bright. Getting back to Rod Walker, he says Peyton's decision is bigger than just the X's and O's.
You look at the football side of it, and you say this team went through a lot, and they were right on the cusp of making the playoffs. And I think that, you look at it that way, you say, yeah, he'll come their guy at quarterback, and this team is, right back in the hunt next year. But again, you never know what's going on, behind the scenes. And when it comes to jobs, I mean, it's a lot bigger than football a lot of times.
It is. It is. And there is a serious grind behind it, and we've seen what happens when coaches don't dial in the whole way and how quickly they fall off. And that's part of their DNA as well, is it's either all in or nothing. So, one more from Walker real quick. If Peyton does step away from the Saints, New Orleans, what do you do there? Obviously, you just thank him for what he's given you to this point.
I think it's a job that would definitely be one that, other candidates would be very interested in. I mean, this is a pretty good situation. I credit Sean Payton for the situation. I mean, he's built a culture here that players and I think coaches would want to be a part of. So, I mean, to me, it's too good of a job not to at least see what's out there.
100%. And it is that way because of what Peyton has built in New Orleans. All right, we're going to talk about the future a little more right after the Fox Business Report. All right, let me go make sure everything's running across the hall.
Can you come back? I need to get those cuts for 35 seconds.
I actually have that email open right now. Yep.
All right, so we're done with 17 through 19?
Yeah. Tom Brady cuts when we come back.
Yes, sir. So just 1 and 2? Yeah, the first one's the farewell tour.
Yeah.
Second one is overturn.
4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay, that's all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good Lord. All right. First of all, good morning, Christy, if you happen to be watching. And who is in the Renee, Clinton, Eric, good morning, good morning. Did you snort Red Bull this morning? No, it's You know how when stress increases and it just turns itself into instant energy? That is what has happened. I don't think you can fully see it on the camera because it kind of tops out by the arm bars of the microphones. But there is an extra laptop on the desk this morning because I can't print. Normally I print my entire show out segment by segment, so it's nice, neat, orderly. I can stay focused. I can, actually concentrate on the content. I have no connection to a printer this morning. I know, we're just like a walking calamity around here. I have no connection to a printer this morning, so everything I do is going to have to be off of a laptop. And that has got me vertutzt, if I can use some Yiddish at 6:24.
Okay, just to be absolutely sure.
4, 5, 6, and 7, yes. But after the 2 Tom Brady cuts. Who is this? .624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We weren't quite done with sports there. We've one more story to cover, and that is the future of Tom Brady. What does the future hold for Tom Brady? Well, he was on a podcast, and I'm rebooting my computer again so that I can give proper attribution. Tom was on the... Give me one more second. Oh. Where is it? The Let's Go podcast on Sirius XM. On the Let's Go podcast, and he was asked a lot of questions about his future and where he is headed. Is he headed into retirement? Is he coming back with the Bucks? Are we going to see a retirement tour of sorts where you just come back to wave at all the adoring fans? Brady says the retirement tour is not necessarily his bag.
Would you like a farewell tour? Would you like to be able to say goodbye? Would you like to compete one more time and know that you're taking it all in that vein, as opposed to possibly just leaving and not having that preparation?
I think that would be distracting for me. I'm really ultimate, my enjoyment comes from not a recognition of kind of what I've accomplished as a player in the league. My enjoyment comes from the competition. So more so than anything, even yesterday, I was thinking about competing. I was thinking about, this whole year about competing. I wasn't thinking about anything other than that.
Yeah, it was a tough press conference to sit through, or just a tough press conference to watch after the game Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday? Either way, whenever it was over the weekend, where he was getting peppered with questions about his retirement. It's like the man just came off the field. And competitors at that level, they're 100% dialed in on what they just did or did not do. And I know everybody wants to be first with the story, but he wasn't going to have an answer then. The flip side of that is you got to ask the question anyway. By the way, the voice asking the question was Jim Gray. He's one of the hosts of the Let's Go podcast. Also asked Tom about what it would take to see if he's back next year. Brady says he's going to talk with his family right now. It's all about his family. Now, if it stays all about his family, that's one thing, because if he's coming back, he's got to be 100% dialed in.
When the time comes to think about post-career and second career, I'll think about those things. And it's just when you're 44, I guess you get asked about that a lot. And, a lot of people thought I was done playing football in 2015. A lot of people in 2016 said you're done. A lot of people in 2018, when I left the Patriots, they said you're done. For me, it's every year I just have to make sure that I have the ability to commit to what the team really needs. And that's really important to me. The team doesn't deserve anything less than my best. And if I feel like I'm not committed to that or I can't play at a championship level, then you got to give someone else a chance to play. And, we'll see, again, there's a long time between now and the start of next football season. And, I've got to really figure those things out, which is probably natural for anyone.
All right, let's back up 1 second here. He said a lot of people at 44 get asked that. No, they don't. He said, I guess at 44, a lot of people get asked that. No, Tom, there aren't a lot of 44-year-old NFL quarterbacks. You might find the random kicker, but you're kind of the only guy getting asked this. So welcome to a class of your own. Anyway, I think he's leaning towards retiring. That being said, Drew Brees goes into retirement, goes to TV. all the talk is of Sean Payton, whether or not he's going to go into TV. Can we all agree that if Tom Brady's the GOAT on the field, nobody wants him on TV? That voice, oh my gosh. There's something like, I don't know. Like fingernails on a chalkboard. Oh, we got to catch some more news before we get to news. Actually, here's a story you're going to hear in our news segment at the bottom of the hour. The governor's proposed budget is out. He's got a number of priorities listed. He held a press conference yesterday afternoon to talk about these priorities. One of which, this is going to be in the top 5, obviously, but possibly the most important to the governor, teacher pay raises.
The funding that I'm talking about today, the $148.4 million, provides for at least a $1,500 pay raise for teachers, $750 for support staff.
It's going to bring up a number of questions because they just got a raise, if I'm not mistaken, was it last session or the session before? But the questions that are going to come up are from the teachers' end of why they're not getting up to the Southern Regional average all in one chunk. There's a different approach where you do it bite by bite, which is kind of how you eat an elephant, but it's not going to show huge results at any one given time. Oh, along with the $1,500 for teachers, there's also $750 raises for support staff. The governor says that lawmakers can go higher if they want, but state surplus revenues are projected for the current fiscal year. I wouldn't put a whole lot into that because that's just for the current year, but they are projected and could prove out to be true.
And I'm calling on the legislature to take the first $49 million of that additional recurring state general fund and increase the teacher pay by another $500.
I don't know that you should do that because it's just 1 year's projection. You're putting yourself on the hook permanently. Now, obviously, if you're going to put yourself on the hook, teachers are worthwhile. And that's a good place to put yourself on the hook. But getting yourself into a permanent situation based off of a 1 year revenue, that every legislator we have on, a session comes up, is going to tell you, you want to spend surplus, you want to spend bonuses on one-time expenses, which kind of pushes us more towards infrastructure. We're going to have to get back to that in a little bit. Right now, though, we're coming up on CBS News. So let's catch CBS News. Let's catch our own local news. We're going to hear a lot more from the governor, among other things, and traffic, weather. Then we're back at it next. Oh, finally. Who's on Kill Me today? Mike Pompeo, Lindsey Graham, Lance Gooden, Varney Simulcast, Rick Scott, and Ryan Zinke. Talk about Russia, Ukraine, and COVID.
We're using 6 and 7 still?
I don't know. I don't know where we're going to get back to it. Keep them.
Next segment we have the JBE budget. That's next segment.
Oh, crap. I did them backwards. That was supposed to be 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's on me. We won 11, 12, and 13 here. Let's knock out 6 and 7 and then move on, move backwards. It's 11, 12, and 13, and then the cut that I sent you. Okay? Yes. The 3 from LRN and the 1 that I... Okay.
So we're going to try and knock out 6 and 7 first.
Yep.
And LRN and then Oshner.
Is it just me, or did Tom sound especially Wisconsin in that podcast? Yeah, it's like a whiny voice. It's just, I don't know. Nut up, dude. I mean, I'm clearly online, and the printer says server offline. This is getting so friggin' old.
By the way, you're going to have the Thurns at 4-6.
Okay, then we'll go back to the governor's story. I'll do Mathern's, and then we can dive back into the Oster story. Ah! No! Shit. Okay, I'm going to need a minute to get every website that I had reopened to every website that I had. The next hour worth of the show is going to be... no, I thought I was closing one window, and it somehow closed like 8.
You can open last, like recently closed, depending on what browser you're using, and it'll open up every single tab.
I'm using Microsoft Edge because they haven't given me Chrome.
I think that works. I have no idea. I haven't started using it.
Fudge. No, it's all right. I'll get it.
Again, when you have a title, I'm ready.
Do what?
No rush, but when you have a title, I got you.
Oh,
You don't have to think of one right now. You can come with one.
no, I'm trying to figure out which of the interviews is the most clickable.
Mardi Gras, maybe?
This is on YouTube, so we don't want to keep it relegated just to Louisiana. So,
Putting Americans to work.
yeah. Yeah, Strategic Petroleum Reserve versus American Jobs. Although narrowing it down to Louisiana would refine the search a lot more.
It would. And we're trying to go.
Yeah,
I think the goal is to get local before we go national here.
yeah. It's all about SEO. It's all about what is going to be the searchable term. Do we want to be the small fish in the big pond or the big fish in the small pond?
First, we need to grow.
I think we can split the baby with this one. Yeah, the title is going to be Strategic Petroleum Reserve versus Louisiana Jobs.
First, Louisiana jobs.
Versus Louisiana Jobs, yeah. I don't have the governor's thing back up again. I didn't hit the help desk button. I don't know what to do. I don't have access to my laptop now either.
Will you be able to do this segment?
I mean, I can recite Linus's speech from Peanuts Christmas special. Here we go. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We are about 13 minutes away from speaking with King Richard. Richard Lipsey's the king of Washington Mardi Gras. He is headed up there, I believe, if not later today, then first thing tomorrow. And I think he's actually headed up there today. But going to be a week full of events in Washington, D.C. for Washington Mardi Gras. I've attended it once. It has quickly become one of my favorite events of the calendar year, just to see that level of bringing how we celebrate to them. It's kind of like when we talked with Billy Nungesser about putting a Louisiana float in the Tournament of Roses parade. Did I say it right? I always get made fun of for the way I say the word tournament. So putting Louisiana in the Tournament of Roses parade.
Tournament.
Yeah, no. That's
You're going to die on this hill?
I am, because you know what? The second that the Rolling Stones go on tour, you can talk to me, right?
Why would you say it like
Because
that?
that's how you just said it.
That, We're not.
Spell it. Spell Tournament.
I'm just
Tour.
here.
Nament.
Tournament.
Yeah. Well, the other, you know what I love is
You don't say
when
tournament.
when we were putting up the Christmas tree and hanging up the ornaments. This is too far down the path. We got to get back on it. Richard Lipsey is the king of this year's Washington Mardi Gras. We're going to dive into that in our next segment. Right now, though, I want to get you back to the story we were talking about before we hit news, and then you heard about during news, and that is the governor's proposed budget that he's got out for this year. Two other topics we want to talk about within that budget. We talked about how he plans on using, if the surplus plays out the way it's projected to play out, dedicating some of those dollars to a teacher pay raise. There's that. But there's also infrastructure, which if you're looking at one-time spending, infrastructure is probably a much better investment because it's not something you're committed to year in and year out. He's looking at investing $500 million in building a third Mississippi River Bridge right here in Baton Rouge. Transportation Secretary Sean Wilson says that money will augment a public-private partnership for construction because the actual cost of the bridge and the approaches to the bridge are going to be much more than that.
The bridge itself from LA1 to LA30 is going to run upwards of $800 to $900 million in today's dollars. In 3.5 to 4 years, when we're ready to finalize that procurement, compound the increased cost over those 4 years.
You heard that, right? He didn't just say in Baton Rouge. He said LA1 to LA30. Now, that's not specific to a location because pretty much you go east from or south down the river from the current Horace P. Wilkinson Bridge. You head downriver, you're going to connect 1 to 30. But that's the most specific I've heard it described yet. The governor's infrastructure budget also includes another $500 million for statewide water and sewer improvements and upgrades, $100 million to go towards finishing off I-49 south of Lafayette, and $100 million to kickstart a new I-10 bridge at Lake Charles. Dr. Wilson says the new Baton Rouge Bridge is the most needed project, but funding for bridge connectors to 10 and State Highway 30 at both ends, it's like building a bridge without building the connectors. What are we even doing here?
It makes sense to start with the bridge structure and then augment those others because they could still open simultaneously based on what we need to do to make sure that we connect the road and don't build a bridge to nowhere.
Exactly. Speaking of bridges to nowhere, remember the last time they built one? I mean, the Audubon Bridge has its connectors and everything, but goodness, way up there. It's nice, though. It's great. It's like the grandma that keeps the plastic wrap on the sofa so nobody touches it. It is the plastic wrap of bridges. Hey, let's talk COVID. Actually, you know what? Let me take a second to mention the folks over at Mathern's Market. 2 locations, downtown on 3rd Street and Nicholson at the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. Excuse me. Both locations of Mathern's. It is king cake season. Well, it's king cake season everywhere down here, right? Both locations of Mathern's have your king cakes stocked up and ready to roll. In fact, while I was over there on Sunday, so I'm restocking the king cakes. It's a beautiful thing. Whether you like the cream cheese filled, the strawberry filled, you get the praline. They have the chocolate king cakes as well. Or, like in the Haldane house, we just go original, baby. It's the only way to roll for us. That's not true. It's not the only way to roll, but it is the best way to roll. And oh, by the way, don't just grab your king cakes. Start gearing up for parade season. Yes, king cakes are out, which means it's carnival, which means that parades are going to start rolling very soon. When you need to hit the parade route, it's the same as shopping for a tailgate, shopping for a parade. And Mathern's has got you covered at both locations, downtown on 3rd or Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center, stop off for a couple of craft beers. Stop off for a tray to bring out for your whole party. Whatever you're doing, check out my Thirds, downtown on 3rd, or the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. All right, another story you heard about during our news, and this kind of ties in since we are talking about Mardi Gras and the pandemic. It was 2 years ago. It was Mardi Gras 2020 when the world basically shut down almost immediately afterwards. Yesterday, Oxford health officials provided some potentially good news as we're almost 2 years later for those looking to enjoy Carnival this year. Dr. Robert Hart says their data suggests the Omicron surge was reached nearly 2 weeks ago in New Orleans and other parts of the state. And with Mardi Gras still more than a month away, time is kind of on our side here.
Hopefully, if that positivity rate continues to come down, we should be in a much better spot from the standpoint of the rate of spread and the positivity within the population.
Louisiana's health department reported 2,304 people in the hospital with COVID as of Monday, with several thousand more exposed, to the Omicron variant. Hart, however, is optimistic that being on the other side of the curve means some level of protection.
There's a lot of our population that have now been exposed to Omicron. That's a bad thing, but on the other hand, we hope that will give some protection as we go into the Mardi Gras season.
That 2,304 was actually day before yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm hitting refresh continually on the LDH website here, and they're showing us at 2,127. So we dropped down by a couple hundred. Back to that press conference from Oxford, though. One thing to remember, or at least we're being reminded of, children remain highly susceptible to the virus. Dr. Sandra Kimmerly, who has been on the show, strongly encourages all who are eligible to be vaccinated or, get their booster.
Of the pediatric patients that are in the hospital, more than half of them are under the age of 5, so they're not eligible to be vaccinated. We really encourage vaccination and boosters for the children that are eligible as part of the whole preparation for Mardi Gras and to keep our kids safe.
Excuse me. Once again, let's go back to the top of that story where Dr. Hart was talking about us being on the back end of the curve. And you heard the governor last Thursday in his press conference mention that we're not going to see this statewide. We're all going to come out of Omicron at different levels. There's 9 different districts in the state. You're going to see them taper off at different speeds. There's 64 parishes in the state. You're going to see them move from red to yellow or blue at different speeds. But I want to go back to the press conference, and I wasn't able to grab who it was that was speaking at the time. So my apologies for not being able to get full attribution, only to tell you it was the Oxford press conference. Going back to the press conference yesterday, we did hear throughout a number of different times them mentioning what it's looking like about us being on the back end, and I can't help but share when I hear something positive about coming out of this surge. And tell me you don't have the same takeaway as I do from this.
And so it does look like on, like I said, New Orleans, the peak was, January 11th. On the in North Louisiana, it looks like the peak was more like January 18th. North Shore is still a little bit of a plateau over the past couple of weeks. So there is not a clear material decline on the North Shore, although the highest was on January 11th. So,
they're talking about it in past tense. It's a good thing, right? Quick break. Talking to Richard Lipsey next. All right, go ahead and get him on now so he has a chance to get settled. Oh. Damn it. I've been calling him King Richard like it's a Shakespearean thing.
This is Talk 107.3. Please call us back with questions. We have you on in just a couple minutes.
Wait 2 minutes and call back again.
Talk 107.3.
There is.
Yeah, this is King Richard Lipsey. Wonderful. It's Talk 107.3. How you doing today? Wonderful. That's all good. We're going to have you on just about 3 minutes, okay? We'll keep you on hold and we'll get you on, all right? Good show, buddy.
Good. LSU men have dropped 3 straight games, and they've only dropped 6 spots in the polls. That's amazing to me.
We got 7-11.
Okay. Okay, so I think I'm done with the LRN cuts. Okay. Server offline. Son of a biscuit. All right, well, the next thing I'm going to need is that. I can close that window. Now we're down to 12. My apologies, YouTube. My level of engagement this morning is not where it needs to be. Okay. That's there. Ooh. Where is this? Clinton. Oh, cool. Let's go check that out. Yeah. .652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. CBS World News Roundup coming your way about 8 minutes from right now. All right, so we do things a little bit differently here in Louisiana, and it seems to be catching on around the world. I mean, we took the greatest football team in the history of college football, and now it's replaying itself in Cincinnati. Coming up a little over a month from now will be Mardi Gras Day in Louisiana. Coming up at the end of this week, the Mystic Crew of Louisianans will convene in Washington, D.C. Joining us now is the king of that crew, Richard Lipsey. King Richard, welcome aboard. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Glad to be with you this morning. How are you, Bob?
I'm glad to have you on. I appreciate you hopping on with me. So first of all, congratulations. How did this all come about?
Well, actually, it's our congressional delegation rotates who they pick for the king each year. Mm-hmm. And Honorable Congressman Garrett Graves, it's his year to be captain of the crew, the Louisianians. Mm-hmm. And he honored me by picking me to be the king of Mardi Gras for 2022.
Is this an event you attend regularly, or is this kind of stepping out of the old comfort zone?
Not really. My wife Susan and I have been there several times, probably 10 times over the last 25 or 30 years, maybe longer than that. And my granddaughter, Anna, had the privilege of being the queen about 6 years ago, I think it was. And so we've been, and we've always enjoyed it. It's a heck of a celebration. Almost everybody who's anybody in Louisiana goes to Washington Mardi Gras, and particularly the politicians. It's a big political deal. And but so many of my friends have gone for years, and they've had the kings and queens from all over the state of Louisiana. So I'm very flattered that Congressman Gray's picked me this year.
Well, it's well earned, well deserved. I mean, the career, the jobs created, everything that you've done up till now, obviously taking into account there. Hey, let's walk through a couple of the items that, since you've been numerous times, let's walk through a couple of the items on the calendar that kind of top your favorite. I mean, I'm guessing the formal ball to wrap things all up is probably number one, but what else do you like about Washington Mardi Gras? What are the few of the stops along the way, or a few of those items on the calendar?
Of course, what you said a few minutes ago, it's a gathering of people, and so one of the most fun things is being with people from all around the state of Louisiana, mixed in with quite a few Washingtonians. But I guess one of my favorite things is the king gets to put on a dinner for his friends on Thursday evening. So I'm having a dinner for, my close friends Thursday evening, and have some unusual, very, I want to call it the best entertainer in the country entertain for us. And that's a big party that Susan, my wife, and I put on. We'll put that on at the Mellon Auditorium. Like I said, it's a private, by invitation party for our friends. And then Thursday lunch also is the King's Luncheon, where you have the entire crew, the crew meaning the captains and the lieutenants of the crew of Louisianians, but you have all the princesses and the queens, festival queens from Louisiana, and then you have the crew members, some of the crew members themselves and friends. So the King's Luncheon is quite a feat. We're having that this year at the Kennedy Center. And then Friday evening is a black tie dinner dance, but you hit the nail on the head. The Saturday evening ball, where everybody that's in the crew comes out in costume, and the king and queen are in costume, and all the festival queens are in their beautiful white dresses, and it's quite a production. It's a lot of fun.
It absolutely is, but meanwhile, I've only attended this from a different perspective. You're opening whole new worlds to me, because the Thursday evening was I would say it's called Louisiana Alive in the International Ballroom. That, to me, that was like top notch. Outside of that, it was hanging out in the 65th Parish the whole time.
Well, you're right. I missed that. Louisiana Alive on Thursday evening is where the entire everyone invited to the ball is eligible to buy a ticket, and it's probably 2,500 minimum people at that party in the ballroom, and they have entertainment. They have food from all the restaurants around Louisiana, particularly Baton Rouge, all around set up serving delicacies, and bars set up all over, a lot of fanfare, and it really is an exciting event. Louisiana Live is basically the kickoff for the weekend for the crew members.
Before I let you go, and I appreciate a couple minutes of your time this morning because I know you got to head out for D.C. later on. But before I let you go, I've got to ask about COVID because we didn't have Washington Mardi Gras last year. Y'all have taken some great lengths to make sure that the traditions that we hold so dear and share with Washington are not going to be super spreader events. What are a few things that have, as King, I assume you've had some firsthand knowledge of this. What are some things that y'all have taken on to make sure that we're doing this the right way?
Well, you're absolutely correct because we didn't have it last year. And so everybody is anxious. We'll probably have one of the largest crowds we've ever had this year. Number one, Oshner Foundation's been very cooperative with the crew and given them lots of direction to go in. And, of course, number one, you have to have a shot. You have to be vaccinated to be able to go to the ball. And not only that, not only have your identification that you've been vaccinated, but you have to go online, and there's a app called Bendily, and you have to register online your COVID vaccination. So before you can get into any event, you have to show that Bendily application, and that admits you to the event that shows that you have been vaccinated. They have crews there testing for anybody that shows any signs of COVID or questions it. They've got stations set up throughout all the events where people can go and get tested. They're requiring masks be worn in Washington at all times except when you're eating and drinking. So I salute the crew and all those that have put it together. They're doing everything possible to keep people safe.
He is Richard Lipsey, king of Washington Mardi Gras. And, well, between Lipsey's and Haspel, we finally have a king who can outfit an army. So good luck. Have a lot of fun. You just eat up every moment of it. It's such a great event, and congratulations on being named king. You're going to have a great time this week.
Well, thank you, Brian. I'll have on my Haspel tuxedo Friday night. I'll have on my king's costume, which will be very Lipsey's appropriate with ducks and Labrador retrievers and LSU tigers on my crown, and I'm really excited. I'm very flattered and honored that they asked me, and looking to have a hell of a good time.
And you most certainly will. Let's get a debriefing after you get back home, sir.
I'd love to.
Excellent. Thank you so much for hopping on board this morning. He is Richard Lipsey, king of Washington Mardi Gras. We're late for CBS News. That was so much fun. I love that, man. I tell you what I really love is disagreeing with that man. No, seriously, he's make no mistake about it, that guy's got influence in every corner of whatever. When he opens his mouth, people listen. But he doesn't get his panties in a wad if you have a disagreement. He'll openly speak. He has served our nation. He was in the room when John F. Kennedy's autopsy, which, by the way, no, I think I'm going to have him. He's told the story a few times. He's got a TED Talk on it. Oh, yeah! He's told it on Inkster's show. I got to get him on Cool Story Bro because I'm such a Kennedy. Yeah, I know. That's a cool story. I put a poll out not long ago. I shouldn't say not long ago. It was over a month ago about what do you want to hear on Cool Story Bro, and overwhelmingly have Richard Lipsey tell the John Kennedy story. John F. Kennedy, not our senator. Oh my God, that was fun. I have now muted my computer. Next show, you do a sports segment. You got to mention how Eli Apple messed with the wrong fan base. He's getting trolled all over Twitter. I heard something about that yesterday, but I haven't dialed in on the story yet. Eric says, we just peasants. Bro, I know, so Louisiana Live was phenomenal, okay? So I went 2020, like a week before the shutdown, right? Well, a couple weeks before the shutdown. I went in 2020. It was me and Jay Ducote. We were fresh off the heels of the national championship. I mean, everybody was like just riding a Louisiana high. And this event, it put, like, I had just as much fun running into people that I see on an everyday basis, or meeting people face to face that I normally have on the phone for the show. I had every bit as much fun with that as I did with meeting people from out of state who are looking to get business done in Louisiana. I don't know how to describe it without making it sound like something that it's not. But from breakfast all the way through the end of the night, each day, from breakfast through the end of the night each day, there's a lot of just relationship building and, hey, look, check this out. This is how we do things down there. It's a Mardi Gras atmosphere, to be sure, which is a tailgate atmosphere as well. Just walking through the Washington Hilton, whether you're in the restaurant, whether you're in the lobby, whether you're in the 65th Parish, which is, they renamed the bar the 65th Parish. But that Friday night, they have that Louisiana Alive party in the ballroom. So we're there. But I'm rolling with Jay Ducote, right? I'm rolling with Mr. Bite and Booze, Mr. Beat, Bobby Flay, right? So, obviously, he knows all the chefs, all the workers in the back of the kitchen. And I don't know if I'm allowed to tell this story or not, because we kind of did some stuff that I don't know what we're supposed to. Is there a statute of limitations?
Maybe err on the side of caution with something like that.
I mean, what happens at Washington Mardi Gras is supposed to stay there, right?
Maybe. But one thing you may not know is, you said you went to the one in 2020, correct?
Yeah.
We didn't know it at the time, but you may have seen me at that event, because I performed there for Tiger Bands. Were you there when Tiger Band performed?
Tiger Band was at the ball.
Oh, you weren't at the ball.
I had to come home before the ball. So I was there. I got there Wednesday. We did Jay's show Wednesday afternoon, my show Thursday, Jay's show Thursday, my show Friday, Jay's show Friday. I headed home on Friday.
Gotcha.
It was such a skeleton crew. I didn't get to go to the ball. I went to the Louisiana Live. Or did I head out Saturday morning? I wanted to.
Either way, our paths didn't cross.
No.
That'd have been crazy, though.
Right? So. Oh, are we already in? Yeah. Oh, shit. I got to navigate this stupid top stories and trending with not having it printed.
Were you just talking about nothing?
No. Anyway, the backstory was, it was kind of a. You know how. Ray Liotta, Henry Hill gets into the Copacabana and Goodfellas, walking through the back halls and whatnot. I mean, that's what we were doing. All right. 7:06, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 2 coming your way right now. We're talking with LSU's Innovation and Ecosystem Development Director, Andy Maas, in our next segment. We are talking with Dan Eberhart from Canary LLC about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Why are we tapping into oil that's already there when we could be putting Louisianans back to work? That's at 7:35. Thanks again to Richard Lipsey, King Richard, as it were. That sounds so Shakespearean. Well, because it is. Washington Mardi Gras. Jake and I were talking about it during the break. It's such a great event for Louisiana, and we're able to share what we do, how we do. You know how on Mardi Gras Day, everybody's Facebook feed says, or everybody from here's Facebook feed says, everywhere else is just Tuesday? Well, bottle that and distribute it over 4 days. And that's what you get. Such a cool event. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are the meat of that. We need to find some on-scene people to get scene setters as we go through. In fact, I'll make sure to reserve some time throughout the show on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so we get a little check. Or I don't do a show on Saturday, idiot. We'll do Thursday and Friday to make sure that we're dialed in on what's going on. Right now, though, hey, top stories and trending. Let's get it. Kind of hit you by surprise with it, didn't I? I dropped it real fast.
Just a little bit. I wasn't ready.
Well,
It's okay.
Head on a swivel, Jake.
Yes, sir.
Head on a swivel. Follow up on a story we started to report yesterday, but there wasn't a whole lot of information. Louisiana state troopers are investigating a crash that claimed the life of a 30-year-old woman Sunday night. Leah Tatman was walking near the northbound fog line of Jefferson Highway south of Highland just after 10 p.m. A Dodge Ram was traveling north on Jefferson and struck her, killed her. Tatman was transported to a nearby hospital. She actually died at the hospital. A toxicology sample was obtained from Tatman for analysis, but let's talk about that Dodge Ram for just a second. Troopers believe the vehicle that struck Tatman was a 2018 to 2020 Dodge Ram 2500 or 3500 model. After striking Tatman, the passenger side mirror housing, the housing for the mirror was dislodged from the vehicle and was left on the scene. Up to Zachary, where a man was sentenced to 45 years in prison Monday after pleading guilty to the 2019 killing of a 73-year-old woman. Dadgummit. Sorry, we had printer issues this morning. Adrian Curtis is one of 3 men charged in the murder of Frances Jane Schultz. He withdrew his plea of not guilty on counts of manslaughter and armed robbery in the 19th JDC. Curtis, his older brother Cortland Curtis, and Donovan Brown were all arrested for the murder. Schultz was found bound by duct tape with gunshot wounds to the head inside her home on Bryan Road on March 21st, 2019. Schultz's husband reportedly discovered her body after he returned home from a funeral that night. Curtis allegedly admitted the crime, saying Brown drove them. All 3 helped bind her. Curtis said his brother Cortland dragged Schultz into the house and shot her multiple times with one of the stolen firearms. Cortland Curtis and Donovan Brown are still facing trial in this killing. Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul held a press conference yesterday. One of the things talked about in that press conference, the Dixie community north of North Baton Rouge, where you see a lot of empty boarded homes and graffiti, it is an area that police are calling a hot spot, one of several crime areas in the city. Chief Murphy Paul announced a new plan Monday with parish, state, and federal law enforcement agencies all working together to reduce crime, not by just putting more boots on the ground. Quote, "We're committed to saving lives by stopping violence," Chief Paul said. You will see the use of drones, SRT for SRT street crimes, CIB detectives, as well as uniform patrols as well. It's a plan that also includes a team of national crime research experts to gather information about what drives the crime in Baton Rouge. East Baton Rouge Parish District Attorney Hiller Moore, his office is part of this team. Hiller Moore said crime in Baton Rouge has reached a critical level. By the way, that information gathered by the national crime experts will be available to the public once it's completed in an estimated 5 months. Crews are shutting down a part of I-12 coming up Saturday night. A portion of I-12 will be shut down late Saturday night. Work is continuing on expanding the interstate throughout the capital area. Transportation officials announced yesterday crews will close off eastbound lanes of the interstate from Essen to College Drive from 9 p.m. until 5 a.m. Sunday morning. Officials said the closure will let crews remove a portion of an overpass bridge deck. This work is part of their project to build a flyover, the College Drive flyover. During the project, drivers should use the Essen Lane exit to reach I-12 via Highway 3064, or, as we said, Essen Lane. A second person's been arrested on murder charges connected to the shooting death of a 36-year-old man nearly a decade ago. 37-year-old Tolly Ray Milton was arrested Monday in connection to Cornell Cummings' murder that took place in the fall of 2014. BRPD responded to a shooting on September 23rd, 2014 at 229 West Johnson Street. Officers found Cummings on the scene suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. The victim was transported to a nearby hospital, then a rehabilitation hospital, where he later died of those gunshot wounds on December 1st. In 2016, police said it appeared Cummings was attacked by 2 people, but only released arrest information about DeAndre Anthony's role in the crime. Deputies have since found evidence from the scene that would trace back to Milton, including spent shell casings. He was also pointed out by a witness in a 6-person lineup. Milton was arrested, booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for second-degree murder. His bond was set at $1 million. That's a look at your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Oh, got to invoke the shark and alligator rule. Jake, what is the shark and alligator rule?
The shark and alligator rule states that if a shark or alligator makes a news story, it has to be covered.
That is correct. Congratulations, Florida. You are once again recognized by the International Shark Attack File. I did not know that was a thing. I have a new favorite website. An International Shark Attack File, new data released by the ISAF, as it were called, suggests Your shark attack rate is higher in Florida than other places. Florida coming in at number 1 in unprovoked shark bites in 2021. The annual report was released by the Gainesville-based organization. They showed 73 unprovoked shark bites worldwide, 47 unprovoked shark bites in the U.S., 28 of the 73 worldwide happened in Florida. We're number 1. No, Florida's number 1. By the way, 17 of those unprovoked shark bites come from one county. Volusia County, ranked number 1. 51% surfing was the activity when bitten by a shark, ranked number 1. 11 fatalities were reported last year worldwide. 9 of them were unprovoked, which means 2 people were trying to start you-know-what with a shark. Don't do that.
By the way, I think it's also kind of fitting. Spoiler alert for my segment coming up in an hour from now. It is National Florida Day.
Yeah, it is.
So
Get your
keep
jorts.
in the theme there.
Get your jorts and a natty light. It's
Woo!
National Florida Day. Quick break. Coming back, we are talking with Andy Maas next. Hey, have you had any problems with the Google Drive this morning? Yeah.
Although this PC was being particularly slow in this morning, but I had enough time to.
Yeah.
It took its time though. But it wasn't glaringly bad like it's been in the past.
Yeah.
We're getting new computers, right?
Allegedly.
He's on the line. He's on. Yeah, about 40 seconds. I texted you Muya. I don't remember if I told you before the segment, but you have a Muya spot.
You did tell me at 11, right? I had a movie at 11. Yeah, I'll get to it after him.
And then you're going to have Ghost Swim at 35. And 52, you'll have
Yeah. Troy says, must be surreal for Mr. Lipsey to attend an event at the Kennedy Center after having worked for the man. Right? Debbie says, wow, all that proof just to go to a party. Debbie, it's not just a party. That's why it's so important. It's so good. .716 to Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. LSU has been chosen as the host organization for a new statewide network that's going to provide training and technical support to small businesses and entrepreneurs throughout the state. Joining us now to talk about that is Andy Maas. He's LSU's Innovation and Ecosystem Development Director, and he's kind of heading up this project. Andy, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Hey, doing well. How are you guys?
Doing very well this morning. Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this. This is kind of it's new to us, but is this new as far as on a national scope is concerned? Was this picked up by looking at other ideas? Where did we get this from?
Yeah, so the small business development centers have been around actually since the mid-'80s. Every state has had a small business development center network, and we are, I'll say, assuming the responsibility of it from another institution in the state.
What's it going to look like for small businesses? How can they take part?
So this is a program that's funded by the Small Business Administration at the federal level. It's paid for by our federal taxpayer dollars, which means it's free to anybody who needs small business assistance. There's 9 of these organizations, actually 10, including LSU across the state, that service a very specific footprint in the state. Those programs have a front door. You can walk in the front door as a small business and say, I need help. And those organizations are there to help you look at market analysis, look at demographics design, right? Look at marketing design. All of the things that small businesses need early to get established, these programs are able to help with.
So LSU is heading this up, but where they're at across the state, it doesn't necessarily have to be on an LSU campus, like LSU-E or LSU-A or whatever, although LSU-A is listed in here. This goes throughout Southern, through the UL system as well. You'd find that basically, I don't want to say everywhere, but it's not LSU exclusive, correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is a collaboration across 9 institutions and 10 if you include LSU. It's a true collaborative work between all of us. And when somebody comes in the door and says, "I need help," we try to put them with the best positioned consultant, right? So each one of these locations has business consultants that are paid out of the funds to help small businesses. So if we have somebody that is an expert in social media activities in New Orleans, but they come in the door in Baton Rouge, we're gonna recommend that they go down to the New Orleans individual and get that contact and that consulting down there.
Andy Maas with LSU is our guest. We're talking about the help that's available for small business right now. Let's get a little more granular. You mentioned social media. What other kind of help is available? What can businesses look for as far as just topic wise?
Yeah, so anything that comes from social media support, we have service to provide, market analysis. So if you're wondering I'll take you through an example. If you're wondering where to build a mini storage unit, you're starting a company, you say, I'm gonna start a mini storage unit. Well, you're not going to want to build a mini storage unit in the middle of a giant agricultural parish, because there's not a lot of people there that are going to need self-storage. So we have teams and we have graduate students coming out of the MBA program at LSU that will do that market analysis for the company and identify that that one gap potentially where, this mini storage unit might fit in this specific location because the next closest one is 9 miles away in all directions. So let's find land for you there. And then they'll start doing land analysis, like how much does it cost to buy land, right? How are you going to market this? How can you utilize the USPS to mail flyers to these companies? And then identify who is your target demographic, right? Is it going to be your 30 to 60-year-olds, or is it going to be your 30 to 40-year-olds, depending on what kind of things you're trying to do as a company. A couple companies that have gone through our program, right? An up-and-comer right now is Small Sliders, right? So Small Sliders has worked with us. They're franchising their program all over the U.S. right now, and they're kicking butt. And it's awesome. We have a couple other, apparel companies. We have some tech-based companies that have gone through our program. So it's really available to pretty much anybody that is a small business. The interesting part is the federal government's definition of small business is any company under 500 employees. So if you do an analysis of Louisiana companies, that's like 98% or 99% of the companies in the state of Louisiana have under 500 employees. Now, we work closely with the Tech Park out on Florida Boulevard. We also work closely with BRAC. We are trying to make it so that people in the Baton Rouge community they can stop at any one of these locations and they'll be able to get access to the services that are available from the small business development centers.
Y'all are physically located at LSU's Innovation Park, though, correct?
Yeah, so our state office is physically located at the Innovation Park. Interesting that the state office that we were recently awarded, that we're setting up right now, doesn't do a lot of business consulting. We actually supervise all of these other organizations that do the actual business consulting. So LSU also has a team that does the business consulting, but we also then have this state office that has some oversight and management responsibility across the state.
We're talking with, I apologize, I said Andy Maas. Do you go by Andy or Andrew? Because the press release says Andrew, the email to me said Andy. So
I go by Andy. If somebody calls me Andrew, I know that they don't know me very well.
Fair enough. Well, for our purposes, we will continue with Andy Maas. He's LSU's Innovation and Ecosystem Development Director, and we're talking about this new Business Development Center. So it's sounding to me like there is no topic, no question, no idea that a small business can bring you that you can't match them, pair them with, if not a number of experts, at the very least a number of young and hungry folks from LSU who know where to go to gather the information and the next steps needed for a business.
Yeah, it's truly a network activity, right? I mean, if somebody comes in the door and says, I need help with getting access to, let's say, technology at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
And they go in the front door at Southeastern. Well, Southeastern's going to recommend them over to the LSU team, and the LSU team's going to help them get into the university to determine, who the best faculty is that they want to work with, and vice versa. We also have partners with like the manufacturing groups across the state. We also have partnerships with the trade associations, specifically like the import and export teams down in New Orleans. So if you're a small business that's selling a widget, and that widget's being created out overseas, right? We can help you navigate how do you get that into the country. Or if you're making something here and you're exporting it, we can help you connect with the right people that will get it out of the country and make those sales overseas.
How in-depth is the relationship here? I mean, is it as deep as the business wants it to go? Like, are y'all just providing information and guidance along the way, or is there the possibility to be providing jobs along the way more on a more integrated level?
Yeah, so we work exclusively as sort of a consultant role, right? And so, but it's a free consultant, meaning if you have a need and you're a business that has a need, you can identify that need, come to us, explain what that need is, we'll identify the best way for us to satisfy that. There may be scenarios where we're not able to, but that's usually few and far between. Most of the situations, and the team that we've built at LSU and across the state really do have a positive can-do attitude, and they're going to figure out a way to help.
When it comes to small business in Louisiana, and we talk about it often on this show, small business is the backbone of Louisiana. We're not like other states where the major corporations are just, there's a handful of major corporations who are the primary job creators. We do it a little bit differently here in Louisiana. Is the main objective of this business development center to take existing small business and catapult them to where they could cultivate into larger corporations?
Yeah, so there's actually a couple of goals of the small business development centers. And this is driven by the SBA, the Small Business Administration at the federal government. But we also have a partnership with Louisiana Economic Development. They are part and parcel with this activity, and they actually help fund this activity as well. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. But the goals that we have are around consulting small businesses, right? So how many small businesses or how many people did we talk to throughout the year as an ecosystem? The second one is how many new businesses did we help start or did we support the start of? Now, we may not have done a lot of work with them, but our work with them led them to actually start the business. We also track how many new jobs were created based off of them meeting with us. So a company of 10 people might come and meet with us, and they might add 2 new employees because of an opportunity that we helped them identify. So we would track those 2 new employees, not personally, but we would track them in the aggregate across the entire state. And then the other thing that we look at is capital infusion. So one of the big things that the SBDCs do is they help small businesses get loans, not from us, but from banks that write small business loan documents. Now, those banks, there's several of them across the Baton Rouge area. There's several of them across the state. There's very specific criteria that you have to use to get an SBA loan. SBA loans are actually a little better and more competitive than your run-of-the-mill loan, but you have to fill out a little bit more paperwork to get to those. And when it comes to things like the ice storm last year or Hurricane Ida, there are dollars, and you might have heard about these dollars in the news, there are dollars the federal government makes available for small businesses to receive loan money in those emergency settings. Those go through those SBA-approved banks, and we as the SBDC actually can help you document and draft those papers so that you're well-positioned to get those loans.
Andy Maas he's LSU's Innovation and Ecosystem Development Director. We're talking about Louisiana Small Business Development Center. So you mentioned a few of them, but if you could, please run through the full list. Where can we find these throughout the state?
Yeah, so we have small business development centers, obviously at LSU. Mm-hmm. We have one at Southern. We have one at Southeastern. We have Alexandria, so that's at LSUA. We have UL Lafayette. We have McNeese. We have at UL Monroe. We have the Xavier program, which serves the majority of the Baton Rouge area. We have one at Southern Shreveport, and then we have one at Nichols State. So you look at the parishes that they cover, and we have somebody that can service all 64 parishes in the state Now, you might have to drive a little bit if you want to have an in-person meeting, but we also have connectivity capabilities to be able to do, Zoom calls or team calls or just straight up phone calls to get access to them. If somebody's interested in getting into these programs, they can show up at the front door. They can, in Baton Rouge, they can show up at the front door of BRAC, and BRAC has a program set up to support businesses with under 25 employees. Mm-hmm. They can show up at the Tech Park out on Florida Boulevard, and that will get them into the ecosystem. There's other ways. There's a 1-800 phone number. If you go to louisianasbdc.org, there's a 1-800 phone number on that page. There's also a web portal where you can put in your name, your company name, your email address, your phone number, and the appropriate individual will return that contact and start communicating with you.
He is Andy Maas from LSU, talking about the Business Development Center. Whether you're a small business looking to grow or you have that idea for a small business and want some guidance to get it off the ground, this is going to turn out to be just a great resource, a great force multiplier, if you will. Andy, thank you so much for the time this morning. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a bunch. Glad to be on.
Yep, absolutely. So Innovation Park and the Tech Park, two different places, right? Tech Park over off of Florida. The Innovation Park is 8,000 Innovation Park Drive, which is more up Nicholson. All right, we got a break coming up in just a minute. After that break, we're going to talk with Dan Eberhart about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Before we get to that break, though, got to ask what you're doing for lunch today. If you don't yet have plans, might I suggest Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. 2 locations, Seagan just north of Industrialplex or Bluebonnet at Highland. What you're going to get at Mooyah is just top-notch ingredients. It's just fresh-cut vegetables. They bake those potato buns fresh every day, and, of course, you get the certified Angus beef cooked to perfection. And, oh, by the way, meticulous customer service as well. From the moment you walk through the door till you ring the bell on the way out to let them know they did a good job. Both locations of Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes have got you covered. They've got a number of different burgers on their menu if you want one of the ones that they have a specialty craft for, or if you want to build your own, you could do that as well. Nothing wrong with that. You know what you like. They know how to make it for just what you like. And, oh, by the way, side note, sweet potato fries dipped in honey. Tell you about it all the time. It's a game changer. Either location, Seagan just north of Industrialplex or Bluebonnet at Highland. Get yourself some lunch today at Mooyah Burgers, Fries, and Shakes. Time for CBS News. Then we'll check our own news, traffic, and weather next. Oh, man. This is... I hope I'm doing all right today. I have no clue how this sounds. I feel so flipping disjointed today. Like I can't tell if I'm making sense during the interview because my questions are all over the damn place, toggling between 3 different pages because normally I could print and I could look at one, look at the other, rather than minimize and open. Like I can, holding 2 sheets side by side is one thing. Mm-hmm. Like having to go, okay, minimize this, now open this, now find where I was at on the page, now go reopen this again.
Do you think it's more of just like a change of, like, do you still think you're getting the information and the questions you want out there, or?
I don't know. Like, am I re-asking questions over and over again, the whole works? I don't know. So.
I mean, I had to go do something during this interview, but in the Richard Lipsey interview, it sounded fine.
Well, Lipsey was all off the top of my head. That was all. I knew what I wanted to ask him beforehand, so that wasn't really probing. It was more conversational. Oh, I think we. Excuse me. Sorry. I think we have to call Dan Eberhart.
Okay.
I don't have it. Hang on. Here you go. So an angry dad goes into a smoothie shop and curses out the employees. He's instantly labeled a Karen, and he's arrested for it, for going on a tirade and throwing a smoothie at the girl that worked there. It is. But here's the thing, though. The part that nobody's really talking about, the reason he was pissed off, he wasn't just upset that they got his smoothie wrong. His kid went into anaphylactic shock because they put peanut butter in the smoothie. If that were the lead of the story, if instead of angry male Karen, what do they call a male Karen? Kevin. Angry Kevin goes off. Instead of that being the lead, if the lead of the story was incompetence put kids in hospital, would you think differently about the story if it were reported that way?
Well, my mic wasn't on for the evolution of this story you just broke to me. My reaction changed drastically.
Right?
When you gave me just that one little piece of essential information.
Obviously
my mindset changed regarding that subject.
If I'm working at a smoothie shop and I accidentally put peanut butter in a kid's smoothie who I was told specifically, do not put peanut butter in this, he's allergic to it. If you threw that smoothie back at me, I'd be like, yeah, hit me with it. I am so sorry. What else can I do to help make up for this? You came here to exact a pound of flesh. It's owed to you.
I mean, that's a screw up of the highest
right
proportion. I mean, it's a smoothie, but it's an allergic reaction, man. That's really bad.
Right.
And so I guess understandably the dad has the right to be upset, obviously, but there's not really a winner in that scenario.
Exactly.
Regardless.
He didn't handle it right.
But how can you handle that correctly? Especially if that's your kid, your only kid, or bad day.
Well, so half of the internet now is based off of trapping people into getting angry in a public situation and asking for the manager, or trapping a police officer into I don't have to show you my license. I'm a sovereign entity. All that bullshit. I don't know. I have a little more sympathy towards a father who is just trying to protect his kid.
100%. There's really just nobody that wins from that scenario.
No.
Everyone involved in that
What's
isn't
the
going to
gas?
look good.
Yeah. By the way, this is where I probably should be reminded that I'm pretty sure our next guest on hold can hear everything we're saying on top of the commercials, so he's getting half of this conversation. Dan's gonna be like, "What did I just walk into?"
Recent news.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
737, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Thanks again to Andy Maas for hopping on board. Great segment about the Business Development Center and what it could do for small business owners in Louisiana. And that's one of the things we try to talk about on a regular basis here. Louisiana is built off of small business. Whether you're talking about small sliders, or he said there's a couple of clothing companies that are on their way up. One of the items, or one of the fields where we are still small business, is oil and gas. This isn't like Texas where it's these monoliths like, Exxon or whatever, but there's a lot of mom and pops that work in the oil and gas industry in Louisiana, and they've seen their lives basically put on hold throughout the Biden administration. And, well, now we're seeing a tap into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve versus just getting back to business. Joining us now to talk about that, he's the CEO of Canary. He's a best-selling author. You see him regularly on CNN, CNBC, Fox News, Fox Business, and the like. He is Dan Eberhart. We've had him on before. We welcome him back to the show. Dan, how are you, sir? Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. Good morning.
Glad to have you on. Let's talk a little bit about a few of the missteps over the last, now year plus for the Biden administration. What are we looking at from the oil and gas world, and what it's cost our workforce and our society?
Well, first of all, I think we're getting the government we voted for. So day one, they canceled the Keystone Pipeline. They banned fracking on federal land. They stopped the offshore auction blocks in the Gulf of Mexico. All this has really had a chilling effect on the oil and gas industry and is, served to push oil prices higher.
Let's talk about that for just a second, because all so often when the price at the pump goes up, when the price of oil goes up, there's people going around putting Joe Biden stickers on gas pumps with him pointing at it saying, I did that. The debate comes up every single time as to the level of involvement the president has in dictating oil prices. The president can't dictate oil prices, but does have significant influence as to where it's going to trend, right?
Yeah, well, you know, he can't dictate price, and the price of oil is to a certain degree worldwide. But if you look at his policies, they definitely lead to less supply, which will lead to the higher price. The other thing is when Biden complains about gas prices, says he wants them to be lower, who does he ask for help for? He says, hey, OPEC, will you produce more oil? Well, that drives, you know, folks like me crazy when, look, we can produce oil in Louisiana, in Texas, in North Dakota. Why on earth is he asking OPEC to produce more?
It's a good question, because if you want cleaner fuel, cleaner burning fuel, better fuel for the environment, keep the oversight. Don't farm it out.
Yeah, no. One thing that amazes me is Massachusetts and New York have these kind of anti-pipeline measures which keep natural gas from Pennsylvania, so it's imported from Russia on ship. What kind of sense does that make?
None, none whatsoever. It's because look, you're on in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I mean, oil and gas is our, if you'll pardon the expression, is our bread and butter. We've lived off of this for a long, long time, and we've learned how to do it and do it the right way. So, you know, if they want to suggest better ways for us to get cleaner, be more friendly, more environmental friendly, we're all about it, but just don't shut us down. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk a little bit about that price. Where are we right now with the price of oil, and where is it headed?
Yeah, you know, WTI is about $85 plus. I think it's headed higher, you know, a couple of reasons. First of all, this tension in Ukraine and Russia, you know, I have no idea what's going to happen with that. But if something breaks out, that's going to push price higher. But look what we've got. We've got an inflationary economy. It's going to drive oil higher. We've got a strong economy, which is going to drive oil higher. And we've got an administration that wants less supply. All these factors point to a Goldilocks scenario for oil prices head higher, and, you know, the price at the pump to be probably a 7 to 10 year high, you know, come 4th of July driving week.
That has repercussions not just for us as, you know, commuters, not just for us for upcoming summer vacations, but it has repercussions throughout the overall economy. I mean, we're living in a world now where everything is delivery. This is going to affect the price of everything, will it not?
Oh, absolutely. Look, 40% of the price of a plane ticket is the price of oil. The price of oil affects, you know, how much your Uber costs and everything in between. So transportation costs is embedded in everything we do. And again, this is just part of this vicious cycle of inflationary policy.
Dan Eberhart's our guest. He's the Canary CEO. He's also a best-selling author. You see him regularly on Fox News and a number of other outlets. We're talking about where we're at with the price of oil. So the president, within his recent press conference, spelled out a number of things about the oil market as a whole. What were a few of your key takeaways?
Look, the Biden administration is really focused on other things, and they say they want the price to go down, but then they're not doing what they need to do that in terms of policy movement and in terms of who they're encouraging. And so I think we're stuck with this higher price for now, and the administration is really not doing what they need to do to fix it.
From the industry standpoint, we're seeing a number of initiatives to go clean, to go carbon neutral by a certain date and whatnot. Is this a futile effort, or is this actually going to work out to where you could pull an end around about showing that oil and gas are still far more useful than alternative solutions as long as we can do it the right way?
Well, look, I think the oil and gas industry is traditionally just we're bad spokesmen for ourselves, and we need to do better about articulating what we do for consumers, what we do for energy costs, and how concerned we are about the environment. Everybody wants cleaner air. Everybody wants cleaner water. And with this renewable stuff, it's about being honest with people about how much higher energy costs are people willing to bear, is the market willing to bear to accomplish these objectives. And the politicians only tell half the story most of the time, I think.
And that's being generous.
Right.
Dan Eberhart, our guest. How high is it going to go? I mean, what are we looking at price at the pump wise? How high is it going to go before it
you know, oil's $85 a barrel right now. I would be shocked if it wasn't 100 by this summer. And I think that's going to translate into, you know, a national gas price that's right now maybe, you know, $3.30, $3.50. I think that's going to crest somewhere in the, you know, over $4 a gallon by July 4th.
Which is the peak of summer travel. What will be well, I shouldn't say that. Let me ask it this way. Is this history repeating itself, or is this something new as far as how it's being approached, how we're, the shutting down of the Keystone Pipeline, the steps taken in Anwar and the like? Is this just a matter of environmental history repeating itself, or are we looking at a new opponent from the oil's perspective?
Well, I think the oil and gas industry has been plagued with cycles for, since it started 100 years ago or slightly longer than that. But I think the pressure on the oil industry from environmental groups is, new and increasing and a game changer. But I also think that there's a disconnect between the talk about renewables and where we're going and what's going to actually get us through 2022, what's going to get us through 2024, what's going to get us through 2030. And, politicians have not been realistic with people on this. And we're going to need oil and gas to get the 18-wheeler from Baton Rouge to Boston in 2023. We just got to be honest about that.
No, absolutely. It's a ready, fire, aim approach, and you can't build the infrastructure for the alternatives without the oil and the gas, and you can't punish the oil and gas and expect to build the infrastructure for the alternatives. Those two things don't work together. Let's move from the domestic side to the global side. What's the rest of the world looking like when it comes to affecting the price of oil here in the U.S.?
Well, OPEC took about 3 million barrels a day off the market during COVID, and they're trying to add 400,000 barrels a day a month, and they're really struggling to do it. So, this is putting further upward pressure on the oil price. I also think that a lot of these different countries in the third world, such as Brazil, India, whatever, these folks don't want an electric car. They want the cheapest car possible, and that's going to be an internal combustion engine-powered car. And so these guys are thirsty for more oil, and they care much less about the environment because they're, folks are, making more like $8,000 a year, not $50,000 a year, and they're trying to help them, get access to cars and access to transportation.
Now, it's one of those things that's amazed me. I mean, I'm 45 years old, so I've been driving since the early 90s, and it feels like every year the cars get cleaner, they get more fuel efficient, we get better and better and better at protecting the environment and putting in, I don't want to say restrictions, but enhancements that help along the way. And no matter how much better we get, how much cleaner we get, the overall situation just constantly worsens. It's like, what do we need to do? And eventually we got to turn, I don't want to say turn the blame, but yeah, the rest of the world is contributing to the same thing as well.
Yeah, you're right. Look, the internal combustion engine is sipping gas compared to what it was doing 20 years ago, and gets better and better and more fuel efficient. And you never read those articles. You never hear people talking about it. It's the stardust is all landed on the electric vehicles, right? But the average car, the average person is driving, is getting better and better and more fuel efficient every year.
All right. Going back to the global market a little bit, the situation in the Middle East, it looks like tensions are rising again. I'm sure the Russia-Ukraine situation is going to play into this as well. How much is foreign conflict playing into our prices?
Well, I think we're about to see with this Russia-Ukraine stuff, right? But the OPEC is struggling to add capacity back, like I said, and the demand for natural gas is soaring in Europe, so it's definitely a factor. But, America is 90% energy independent. We were, 100% until the Biden administration came in and kind of nixed that with some bad policies, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But America can stand on its own and will stand on its own, but we just need, U.S. industry to do a little bit more, U.S. shale to do a little bit more.
And that means instead of tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, just putting people back to work. What kind of other influences would this have on the economy if we were to, instead of tapping into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, just getting back to drilling and pumping?
Well, look, we need more jobs. Like we got, in my company, we've got folks in Louisiana, we've got folks in East Texas and beyond. And don't we want economic activity in the U.S.? It's amazing to me when Joe Biden calls for OPEC to produce more oil, but not U.S. industry. I also, on the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, look, I think we need that for national security reasons. When we use that to try to lower the price at the pump, it just, anytime politicians try to understand the market, it gets embarrassing. So Biden released all this stuff, and then 3 days later, the market's completely collapsed because of Omicron. So he shot a bullet into a tornado and it basically accomplished nothing. Also, the whole time we're doing this, China is adding to their strategic petroleum reserve. So it doesn't seem like the Biden administration thought this out and is really focused on what's best for America. It just seems to me like they wanted a soundbite for the day.
And the meanwhile, we're left to deal with what's currently out there, and the price of the pump continues to rise because of that. I always appreciate the time. Dan Eberhart, thank you for hopping on board today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, absolutely. We've had Dan on a few times to talk about this. He's the CEO of Canary, and like he said, he's got employees here in Louisiana. He's got employees in Texas. He knows what it's like to be able to hire more people as a result of ... It's these next few months are just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. You ever heard those commercials for the gas app? I actually downloaded that thing the other day. I used it for the first time yesterday. The fact that I have a need for it. Oh, we got to hit your money now. Here you go. Boy, that one caught me by surprise. Byron says, I think it's interesting that Guarantee is a top-notch web development company, and y'all have to use 80s Chernobyl computer surplus equipment. So this is being fixed across the board, okay? And if you think our computers are bad, ask Matt Moscona about our chairs. This is being fixed across the board, where we've got new computers coming in. This laptop that I'm having to use this morning, it flies. It is awesome. Brand new laptop. Guarantee regularly reinvests in itself, in our people, and then our stuff. But I would, there's no better place to work in Baton Rouge, I swear. We do things right. I will gladly bitch and complain about computer problems, because in a world where everyone's going syndicated, Guarantee puts a premium on having local folks in the building.
I gotta say, as someone who's approaching 6 months of working here, I've been trying to get into this company for a long time, and now that I'm here, it's pretty much everything I had hoped it'd be and more.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not just saying that because y'all pay me, but
I mean,
I'm getting a lot of opportunity in fields that I want.
I'll let them know the checks can continue. Byron says, I've seen the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Hackberry. It's an interesting place and better guarded, apparently, than the Capitol. As it should be. It's more valuable than the Capitol. I don't know.
Nobody uses it, and then whenever I click it, it's like the THX, like in the old
like those old 2000s movies where it's just like, you see the big chrome, I think it's THX, that's the letters, and then it's just like it just...
I legit don't know.
If you saw it, you would immediately remember it. It's like they do intro to movies at theaters, where it just plays a note, it goes down a little bit, and then it just like hits you like a wall.
Okay.
I'm looking this up. You cannot go the rest of your life not knowing what I'm talking about. Yep, it is THX. Stupid advertisements. Here. Hold on. This.
And was just sitting there. Yeah, that sounds familiar. That's the beginning of movies.
Yep.
Yeah.
When I open Firefox on the computer, that's pretty much the equivalent of what it does to this whole system. And it's really annoying because it's right next to a lot of programs that I need to use for this show. People in the chat, hopefully y'all get that. If not, it's a short YouTube search away. Don't close this tab, though. Open a different one, and then come right back to Mornings with Brian Haldane. Thank you, and goodbye.
Okay.
By the way, you had Ghost Win, and now you have Complete Collision.
Oh, okay.
You wouldn't have been able to get it last segment.
No. And I'm not getting it one in this segment because every time I try to... Oh, let me get the outside in all queued up and ready to roll. 755 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Thanks again to Dan Eberhart for hopping on board to talk a little bit about the oil world, the price at the pump, and where things are going right now. I can't be made to understand how it makes sense. And maybe it's me, but I can't be made to understand how it makes sense. You've heard the phrase, if you want a job done right, do it yourself. We need cleaner burning fuel. Let's hand it off to somebody who has no skin in the game. Makes no sense. We need more jobs right here in our own backyard. Okay, well, let's take this and hand it off to somebody, let them create jobs for themselves. Makes no sense. Hey, coming up about 20 minutes from right now, comedian Dusty Slay has a new special on Netflix. He was set to join us a little over a week ago. Got the COVIDs. Didn't want to hack and cough his way through an interview, so we postponed. That's coming up at 8:15 this morning. Right now, it's the part of the show where we step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish for the Outside In. We're going to start off in North Louisiana. The funeral for a Baton Rouge judge who died unexpectedly at his home last week has been set. Visitation for 19th JDC Judge Christopher Dassall will be held today from noon to 2 at the Winfield Funeral Home in Shreveport. His funeral will be tomorrow at noon at Bethlehem Missionary Baptist Church. Police were originally called to Dassall's home for a wellness check back on January 16th. Officers found his body inside. He was pronounced dead on the scene. 37 years old, cause of his death still unknown. Well, deputies are looking for a trio of suspects tied to... Oh, I went too far. Dadgummit. Hang on, y'all. I don't have this on paper today. I apologize. Temperamental little mouse. Deputies are looking for a trio of suspects tied to at least 2 thefts at a Lowe's store in Ascension Parish. The Ascension Sheriff's Office identified 2 of the suspects as 28-year-old Jonathan Evans and 32-year-old Alicia Malloy. Both are from the Baton Rouge area. Another man who has not yet been identified is also involved in both thefts. The first one happened in 2020 at a Lowe's store in Gonzales, where the 2 men reportedly stole over $2,000 worth of power tools. Another happened last year, 2021, when the 2 men returned to the same store, took over $1,000 worth of vacuum cleaners. Deputies said Malloy served as a getaway driver during both of the incidents. Our news partners at WBRZ have some great photos and video if you want to check it out and see if you can help identify them, and then subsequently call Crime Stoppers at 344-STOP. 1 person died after being shot at the end of a chase involving Lafayette police overnight. State police said the pursuit began when a Lafayette police officer tried to stop a stolen car around 11 p.m. Sunday. Police said the driver fled when the officer activated emergency lights and the suspect pulled into a parking lot before fleeing on foot along West Pinhook Road. The pursuing officer, who was backed up by a canine officer, chased the suspect on foot until the man jumped from a structure and fell to the ground. According to state police, one of the officers then fired a taser, which accidentally shocked the canine and caused the animal to back off. Police said the suspect then reached for a gun, prompting one of the officers to shoot him. The man was taken to the hospital Sunday night. He died Monday morning. Closing out in Denham Springs, Louisiana, so Livingston Parish, Sarah Scott, a beloved 50-year educator in Livingston Parish, who was one of the district's first African-American teachers after integration took hold in the 70s, has passed away. She was 76 years old. A Denham Springs native, retired from teaching back in 2018 and will be sorely missed. That's The Outside In, presented by Baton Rouge Physical Therapy. Check them out online at brptlake.com. Here comes CBS News. I can live without this whole friggin' doing this all off the computer bullshit. I'm just Captain Cranky Pants today. Yay! What? That's the lead. That's the lead. We're putting troops in Ukraine. COVID's obviously not that important. I only took the ACT. I was, I don't know if there's a statute of limitations on this. I was either hungover or still drunk.
Nice.
Yeah. We went to, I was a member of High Y, which was kind of like a youth political club.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to Youth Ledge. St. Paul's forgot to bring a moderator, so we went without an adult. Drinking age was still 18 at the time.
Ah, so you had the rightfully good time.
Oh, good. Nice. Yeah. We were relatively good.
I remember the first time I took the ACT, I was in 7th grade. Didn't do well, obviously.
I walked in, we drove back that Saturday morning. I mean, woke up before dawn, drove back from the Baton Rouge. It was the Hilton at the time. Now I believe it's the Marriott. Drove back from Baton Rouge to Covington, rolled right into St. Paul's, took the ACT, got a 27, and I'm like, I'm out. You want to try for higher? Oh, hell no. I got a 27. Yeah.
Off of, like, what, no prep, basically? Dude, I envy good test takers. I did about the same, but, like, I don't know. I think those are bad indicators of intelligence. So it was just, well,
I think GPA is a bad indicator of intelligence.
Yeah,
as well.
I was about to just open up a can of worms with the whole school system, but I'm probably not going to do that. That wouldn't fit in this short break of time that we have. You still have the live reads I mentioned to you.
What's next?
So you have Go Slim.
Go Slim. I'll do Go Slim here.
Okay, and then Complete Collisions after that, and then nothing else is listed on the stack.
Okay. Which person? Huh? Bendily. Erin. Erin? Is it just me, or is it getting weird if we go more than 2 days in a row without a former LSU athlete's birthday?
We do have one pretty much every day.
Oh, holy God. I just got like 30 new emails all at once. Yeah.
I don't like when that happens. Not even a little.
Nope. Settle down, Marissa. Is it better to exercise in the morning or the evening?
Evening. Or no, morning.
Morning exercise has very different effects on metabolism than the same workout later in the day. An ambitious new animal study of exercise timing showed.
No, it's definitely
Study
morning.
which involved healthy lab mice jogging on tiny treadmills mapped hundreds of disparities in the numbers and activity. Blah, blah, blah. Well, whatever. I exercise midday anyway. I don't reckon. Oh, okay. There's one. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Hour 3 in Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Got a busy hour this hour. Looking forward to this a great deal. Have been for some time. Dusty Slay, stand-up comedian. He's got a new Netflix special out. We were slated to talk with him Friday before last. And, well, he had caught the COVIDs. So we had to regroup, reschedule, get him back on again. And that happens in 10 minutes from right now. Looking forward to it. Comedian Dusty Slay. If you don't know who he is, check him out. Look him up on YouTube. Look him up on TikTok. He is just killing it on TikTok. And he's just a really good comedian, and looking forward to that interview. Also, we're going to talk about National School Choice Week with Erin Bendily from the Pelicans Institute. That's coming up at 8:35. Going to get you to this day in history in just a second, but I do have to remind you about the folks over at Go Slim Nutrition. You know where to find them. They are on Blue Bonnet at Perkins, right next door to Rouse's. 763-9600, 763-9600. How would you feel about Lent before Lent? I know. There's never a good time on Louisiana's calendar to take on weight loss, to take on adapting healthier lifestyles. So why not ease your way in right now and adopt a 45-day commitment? Want to drink more water? Want to cut out some sugar? Want to knock out a few of those sugary drinks throughout the day? Well, couple that with a jumpstart plan over at Go Slim Nutrition, and you will be well on your way to losing some significant pounds and getting yourself just straight up healthier in 2022. GEAUXSlimBR.com is the website. GoSlimBR.com is the website. The phone number 763-9600, or swing by. I'm there every Friday at 10 o'clock for my weigh-in. I love my weigh-in. I call it food confession, where you reconcile what you've done over the past week and you map out what you can do for the next week. Look, there's a million diets out there, but Go Slim provides the level of accountability, teamwork, and support that you need to help get you over the finish line and keep you over the finish line as well. It's time for this day in history. Let's get it.
Good morning to all those tuning in. As he had mentioned, I am Jake Barty. It's time for this day in history, and kicking things off in 1881, where Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell formed the Oriental Telephone Company. But are they AT&T? Are they Verizon?
Yeah, I don't think they're either. They're the Oriental Telephone Company. No?
Probably panned out, though. Safe to assume. Maybe not nowadays, but it's probably really big back in the 90s.
It had to be hard when you only had two telephones to try and screen somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's like, I know it's you. I'm not answering that. He's just going to complain about his day.
1924, the first Winter Olympic Games opens in France. I didn't know the first
Chamonix, France.
Yes, I didn't know how to pronounce it, so I just kind of left it out. I didn't know the first Winter Olympic Games was in 1924. Thought it'd be sooner.
Well, the Summer Olympics that have been around forever, right?
Yeah,
the Winter Olympics that is a relatively new concept.
1961, the first live nationally televised presidential news conference with JFK.
Yeah?
Yeah. Same day, same year. Walt Disney's animated film 101 Dalmatians is released in the U.S.
I wonder which one had more people watch it. Over time, I'm guessing 101 Dalmatians
Probably
has outlasted
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Nobody's looking up the first presidential press conference on the YouTubes.
You never know. The weirdest things get millions of views.
Yeah, they do.
1964, the Beatles get their first U.S. #1. I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Okay.
Shocker.
Yeah.
1979, the first documented case of a robot killing a human in the U.S.
It begins.
It began in 1979 on this day. Everybody, it was fun while it lasted.
Yep.
1989, Michael Jordan scores his 10,000th NBA point in his 5th season.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
That's 50,000 points.
It's almost like he's the greatest player of all time.
He is.
I mean,
by far.
Absolutely. That's all the events. Let's get down to the birthdays.
Wait, whoa. Don't skip right past
What am I
Charles
skipping
Manson was convicted on this day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of killing Sharon Tate and 6 others, even though he didn't actually kill anybody.
Yeah, I should have followed up with that.
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
well.
Birthdays.
Birthdays. I only had 2 to talk about.
There's only one on my list. It's a
Yeah.
weird day for birthdays.
Yeah, it's, well, not eventful. Uneventful, if you
Yes.
will. First one I have, this one's for me. Xavi. He is a Barcelona legend. He is the current coach of FC Barcelona. Absolute icon of the game. He turns 42. Happy birthday to him. And the other birthday I have, Alicia Keys.
Alicia Keys!
She turns 41. Happy birthday to her.
Ridiculous amount of talent.
Absolutely.
And if you ever get the chance, watch the movie Smoking Aces. It's a great movie up until the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes are terrible. It will ruin the ending.
So is it
But
worth...
Ryan Reynolds, Jeremy Piven, Alicia Keys, Common. Great cast.
When did it come out? Do you know?
Decade ago.
Okay.
I can look it up during the break.
Sounds good. No deaths to talk about. Let's get to the holidays. I mentioned about an hour before this segment, it was National Florida Day. I butchered that twice this show.
It's all right.
That's annoying. National Florida Day. It's also Plan Your Vacation Day. National Plan Your Vacation Day, that is. And finally, congratulations to all those sassy people out there. It is Opposite Day. Use that to your advantage or your detriment. It depends.
No.
But
do
that
not.
is
It is National Opposite
this
Day.
day in history.
So if it's National Opposite Day and National Florida Day, do you wear the full jeans? Because Florida Day, you would wear jorts. Yeah.
That is interesting.
Perplexing. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we're talking with comedian Dusty Slay. Next. Supposed to be.
You've been random, but not random question. You've been briefed on who's going to be filling in which days.
Yeah, Chuck.
Taylor on Friday.
Yes. Wait, are you out tomorrow? I think Chuck said he was with me 2 days.
I can't do tomorrow. I've asked off for the 26th.
Okay. So, yeah, it's Chuck, Taylor, Cade. Yeah. Yeah, I thought you were off tomorrow.
You gave me a heart attack for a sec. I was like, I can't back out of that. Talk 173. Good morning, how are you? Doing well, thanks. We're going to be live in just a couple moments and we'll get you on, all right? Thank you. Please hold. He sounds fun.
Did he sound very underwhelmed? No. Okay. He's got such a calm demeanor on stage. This is one where I'm so legit excited. It's weird. I found him on TikTok and really became a fan because his style of comedy, his setup punch is perfect for that format. You get 2 jokes and out.
Don't fangirl too hard.
No, I'm going to fangirl this one big time.
He's gonna hear
I am so going to fangirl this one.
Is he going to be on the wall? I feel like he could
He
be.
might be the top of the wall.
Really?
Oh, by the way, after the show today, you don't have to stick around for this, but I got Eric Roberts coming up again. Yeah.
Very nice.
Eric Roberts is the quintessential of the wall.
I need to look him up because I'm already blanking on his
He
face.
was on Last Comic. Yeah, Dusty Slay was on Last Comic Standing. I didn't even know that. Interesting.
Was I here for when you interviewed him last time?
No. I don't think so. It was a while ago.
Because I feel like I would remember. This is him?
Who, Dusty Slay?
No, Eric Roberts.
Yeah.
He's in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he's in The Dark Knight.
That's awesome. All right, let's go.
It's a news show, damn it. 8:15, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Every once in a while, we get to step away from the headlines and do something fun, and that's exactly what we're doing right now. A couple weeks ago, the season 3 of the stand-ups was released on Netflix. I had slated to talk to Dusty Slay, but he went and caught the COVID, so we had to reschedule. He joins us now. Dusty, we're having a good time. How are you, sir?
All right, we are having a good time. I'm pumped to be here.
I'm glad to have you on here, man. I'm so excited about this. Let's start with the basics. We had to reschedule. You doing okay? COVID bad?
I'm doing great now. I lived. I made it through. I never wanted to catch it, but it finally got me.
Al, yeah, it gets all of us before we're all said and done. So there's so many different areas we can go here. We'll get around to talking about your stand-up special in a little bit, but I just tell the personal story. I came across you on TikTok, and your style of comedy, your delivery is absolutely perfect for TikTok, and was open up to the world of what Dusty Slay has to offer from there. This is it's a different way for a comedian to get launched nowadays. How have you seen your career grow via viral, social, YouTube, TikTok, and those sorts of platforms?
Well, TikTok was great for me. I thought TikTok was the dumbest thing I had ever seen, and I vowed to never even download the app. And then 2020 happened, and a friend, and I had just recorded this hour-long, not special, but just I had a high-def quality video recorded, and a friend called me, and he was like, dude, he said, I've been posting stand-up clips on TikTok and getting a great reaction. You should do it. So I was like, okay, whatever. So I posted 3 videos, and my third one got like 300,000 views, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, this is the greatest thing. So I just started editing clips and posting every day. And then once the world opened back up, people would come to the shows and go, hey, I saw you on TikTok. And I was like, and that had never happened before. So I don't know. It brought people to my shows, and that was amazing.
Well, that's where we're going to go next. Let's talk about your shows a little bit. Specifically, we are still in the midst of a pandemic. What's it been like to try and do live comedy during a global pandemic?
Well, in May of 2020, I got a call from a club in Dallas, Texas, the Improv, and they said, hey, we're going to try to open up. We want to open at 25% capacity, and we want to know if you'll come. And I think I was the only comic in the country. I think I was the only headliner in the country in May of 2020 out doing shows. I didn't see anybody else posting, and I loved it. I thought it was this weird kind of time where it feels like we're all crawling out of a cave back into civilization. And, throughout the next couple of years, a lot of clubs were open at 50% capacity. And I say this kind of joking, but also it's true. Those capacity restrictions were great for me because I was selling out clubs. And I was like, this is great. The problem all along is that you're letting too many people in, Let's keep the capacity low, and then I can finally sell out.
Right. It's nice to have that sold out sticker there, even if it is at 25 or 50% capacity.
Yeah.
Comedian Dusty Slay is our guest. Let's talk a little bit about who you are, what your show is, and what people can expect. The way I've been, and I apologize if this does not come across right, but the way I've been describing you to my audience is, if the Blue Collar Comedy Tour had an honors class, it would include Dusty Slay.
Oh, man. Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. My kind of comedy, it's I've been an alcoholic. I've done drugs. I've lived in a trailer park. I sold pesticides. I waited tables. And now, I'm free of most of those things. And, my kind of comedy, I think it's the kind of comedy that a parent can bring their adult kids to and neither of them be embarrassed. Older, you can bring your aunt to my comedy show and she have a good time and not be offended. But I'm also not void of real content. You know, it's relatively clean comedy, but there's a little edge in there. And so I think it's something fun for everybody. I don't talk politics, so I never divide my audience. You just come and, you know, you might be offended by a couple of my drinking and driving jokes, but hey, you know, I haven't drank in 10 years, so I haven't drank and drive in a decade. So,
well, let's talk about that divisiveness in comedy a little bit. I mean, we're in a time where we are all divided, and you would hope that something that makes us laugh brings us all together, but more and more comedians are running into the cancel culture wall. You seem to be able to sidestep that with your material. What's it been like trying to do comedy throughout cancel culture, stepping between those landmines?
Well, for me, you know, I do care about people, regardless of your political stance, regardless of your religious beliefs. I care about people, right? So I want you to come to my show and feel better about yourself than you did coming in. I want you to be able to come and sit for an hour and just escape all the problems and all the darkness of the world and just laugh for a little bit. And I find that if I'm making fun of people, then that person that I may be making fun of, they may be in the audience. I mean, not a specific person, but whatever. They may be in the audience and they may go, oh, now I feel worse. I went to a comedy show to enjoy myself and now I feel worse. And I don't want that. And I've had that mentality long before cancel culture. And I think it's now played to my advantage that I just, you know, care about people.
The person you make fun of the most in your show is you.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, because I feel like I've found a good way to make fun of myself without also beating myself up. I'm like, here's a bunch of dumb decisions I've made in my life, and let me tell you about them. And that's where I try to go with it. You know, it's like, you know, there may be, I made fun of an aquarium in Duluth, Minnesota on my Tonight Show, and but they actually embraced it pretty well. They made a video based on my comedy and put it on their own social media. You know, it's like, I try to poke fun a little bit at the world around us, but, you know, just keep it light. Come out of a place of, like they always say, only roast the ones you love. Because if you're not roasting people you love, if you're roasting people you don't like, then it comes from a place of hate, and it's not going to be fun.
No, absolutely. And we can all embrace a little bit more of that with everybody at each other's throats so much. A lot of your material, like you said, does come from your own life. I believe originally from Opelika, Alabama, which we didn't know Auburn had a suburb. But
yeah,
how much of your own history from Alabama? You're on in Baton Rouge, Louisiana right now, so you're talking LSU versus Alabama, if anything. How much of your own upbringing in Alabama comes to your show?
I mean, I think so much of it. I mean, I lived there for 21 years, and then I moved to Charleston, South Carolina. But, you know, I love the South. I mean, there are some funny things about the South that I think make us unique. Louisiana even has its own uniqueness in the South, and it's like Alabama does too. Alabama's the punchline of every joke in the world, but it's like I live there, and I have a love for it. And, you know, it's like there is stuff that you can laugh about, but, you know, and I grew up in a trailer. My parents are divorced. I always say they got divorced when I was 2. Then there was a custody battle. My mom lost, so I had to go live with her. And, you know, but my mom lives in a trailer park. My dad, he lives on a farm. And it's like I'm a living stereotype of Southernness. And but I think it's great. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm rambling a bit, but I don't know. I just think, again, if you love something, you can make fun of it and it not be mean.
Well, no, you're making total sense, and it leads me up to my next question, and that's how you're received in different parts of the nation. I mean, we love our own, we appreciate our own here in the South, but your reception on the Tonight Show or wherever you might be is going to be just as good, if not more uproarious than you'd get in your own backyard.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really surprised as I've traveled. I mean, I came up in comedy. You know, I started obviously in the Southeast, and then as I started working the road, I would do a lot of stuff in the Midwest, and I always thought, oh, no, you know, these are the Northern people. They're not going to like my comedy. And I found that the Midwest is basically the South with a different accent. And then as I started to work my way across the country, more out west, I found that just I was doing shows in Arizona one time, and the majority of the audience was Hispanic, and I thought, oh no, I've never really done comedy for Hispanic people before, and they loved it. I mean, by the end of the show, some of the guys that working at the club had bought my hats and my shirts, and they're all wearing it, and I'm like, oh, I'm doing a comedy that's relatable to everyone, and it really made me so happy.
Let's talk a little bit about the series, a little bit about what's coming on Netflix. I mean, you are one episode out of, I believe, there's 6 stand-up comedians in season 3 of the stand-ups. What can we look for?
I think there's a nice variety on there. I got to meet everyone. I got to hang with everyone a little bit. They're all very nice. I think everybody kind of has their own unique brand. I think it's really fun. I recommend that you watch mine first and watch it multiple times, but do watch everybody. I think it's a really fun thing. I like that Netflix is doing this. They're much different than a Last Comic Standing, where they try to pit you against each other and they cut you down into little clips and then they judge you. Netflix is doing what HBO used to do and what Comedy Central used to do, and just giving you a good live performance.
Comedian Dusty Slay is our guest. Got him for a few more minutes here. Want to talk about what the goals are, what the plans are. A lot of stand-up comedians go into stand-up comedy because they want to be actors. Other stand-up comedians just want to be stand-up comedians and master their craft. Which path do you think you're on?
I only want to do stand-up comedy. If something else comes along and it seems fun, I'll do it. But I only want to do stand-up comedy. I never liked acting. I don't think it's fun. It just seems like that's the path. You do comedy and then you end up acting. A lot of people do comedy just to try to get into movies, but I don't know. That's not for me. I love just doing live comedy. No one, like, I write the lines, I go say the lines. I don't have to get approved by anybody. I've sold 2 TV shows. I sold an animated series to Hulu and a network show to ABC. Neither of them got made. But I sold them, and the whole process, the whole time, I write something that I think is funny, and then I have other people tell me to change things. And that doesn't happen with stand-up, and that's why I love it.
Comedian Dusty Slay is our guest. So, from Opelika, normally when you hear about stand-up comedy, the big centers or the big metropolises or whatever, New York or Los Angeles are where you're going to find your biggest hubs. Of course, Second City, Chicago would fall into that as well. What's it like growing your brand, coming from such a small area, growing to the national stage?
Well, I started comedy in Charleston, South Carolina, which is also a small area, but I did start by doing improv. And honestly, it's mind-blowing to me that I am where I am. I used to work at a restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, a seafood restaurant, and I would stand on the second floor of that restaurant and look out the window and see the other buildings of Charleston and see the palm trees or the palmetto trees and just say to myself, I can't believe I've made it here. And I'm just waiting tables. But I was just so shocked that I made it out of my hometown, made it to this city, and now it's like living on my own. So I often reflect back and just look, I got a message from a Miami Dolphin player just yesterday on Instagram, just saying that he was a big fan, and it just blows my mind that I've made it this place. But to me, it just shows that if you're dedicated and you work hard and you care about what you're doing, things happen. I mean, I didn't say, all right, my plan by 2022 is to have a Netflix special. I don't really set goals. Mm-hmm. I just work hard and I get better at what I'm doing, and things happen.
From the Netflix special, how much of this is fresh, how much of this is new, and how much that the folks who have followed you might be a little bit familiar with it already?
I think if you've been following me for years, there's about half of it that you're going to recognize, but I put it in a nice package that even if you've heard it before, you're going to love the way it's packaged. And then the great thing about what I've done is there's a half hour. If you watch it and then you come see me live, you're going to get basically an entirely new show.
Well, I've been running down your schedule, man. You don't have Louisiana on here. We got to remedy that.
I know. I've been to Baton Rouge before. I did a place called The Station years ago.
Yeah.
And I would love to come back. I stayed at a hotel that was right next to a strip club, and I remember me and another comic walked to that strip club. And I'm the kind of guy where if I walk into a place like that, they go, "Oh, he ain't spending no money," and that's true. I'll talk to you, but I don't know what I'm doing in there. I'm just bored, you know.
The Napa hat does give you away when it's all said and done. Dusty, we're straight up out of time, man. I greatly appreciate this. We actually are having a good time. He is Dusty Slay. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. It's the Stand-Ups on Netflix. It's available right now. Along with Dusty Slay, you'll find Brian Simpson, Naomi Eppergen, Mark Norman, Janelle James, and Melissa Villasenor of Saturday Night Live fame. It's available on Netflix. That was fantastic. All right, got to regroup. Let's talk about charter schools, or, well, school choice, coming up next right here on Talk 107.3 after we check news. I have a headshot for you. Can I just forward this from here? Nope. Oh! Okay, did I fanboy too much? Forward, Jake. Bro, my guy, Alan, over at Daybreak Entertainment has been coming through, man. That's Steve Shippey last week, Dusty Slay today. I mean, that's just straight up fun. We're having a good time. Yeah, right? So I never know, do I want the comedian to run through his material while he's on the air? Do I want to, like, pepper him with the jokes? Like, hit him with setups for punchlines that he's already got? Or do I want to get a lot more conversational? This one I knew I wanted to get a lot more conversational simply because I'm already a fan. Like, the setup punch, like, would I be putting him on a tee for him? Yeah, let's,
What did you want me to do with this email that you just sent me?
That's the headshot for Dusty Slay.
Oh, you want me to use that one?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a pretty good one I already had, but I can use that one.
They sent it over. Oh, my God. This little girl. Kenny Wall. Okay. Cool. Studio. Oh, they hung up. Okay. Is Dusty's long hair a toupee secured by the hat? No, that's legit, man. That hair's legit. .837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We're going to talk school choice in just a minute. It is National School Choice Week. However, before we get you to school choice, we do have to talk about the weather. We're looking at a high of 56 degrees today. 47% chance we're going to see some more rain before the day is out. Overnight low tonight gets down to 35, and yeah, we will dip below freezing again tomorrow night. We're projected to get down to 30. Sunny skies tomorrow with a high of 55. We get back up to 60 on Thursday, then 51 on Friday. So we're going to be lingering in, relatively mild but winter weather nonetheless for the remainder of this week with overnight lows in the 30s most nights. Looking ahead all the way to Saturday, we get back down to 29 again. So Saturday night into Sunday morning. But after this rains through, we're done with rain until about the middle of next week, or at least as things look right now. We're at 48 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. All right, let's talk school choice. This is National School Choice Week. Joining us now to talk about that is Erin Bendily from the Pelican Institute. Erin, good morning. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. And you?
Doing very, very well. So, National School Choice Week. You're the VP of Policy and Strategy for the Pelican Institute. What does this mean for Louisiana, and how has the landscape changed in recent years?
Well, we actually have a number of school choices across Louisiana, thanks to some reforms that have been put in place over the past decade or so. But we have a lot of work left to do, and so this is a week every year that we are happy to celebrate across Louisiana, as many are doing across the country, to celebrate the many great educational options that our families have to give their child the best education possible, whether that's in a traditional public school, a private school, a charter school, virtual school, homeschool. There are many different options that parents can take advantage of, but it's also a time where we pause, we reflect, and it's a call to action because, unfortunately, not all families have access to all of those choices. And it's very important that we do everything we can to give every child the opportunity to find that school that fits, that serves his or her unique needs. And so that's the work that we do every day, and that's what we're here to celebrate and to advocate for during this special week.
Who doesn't have the choices right now?
Well, unfortunately, what we see is too many children have their education and even worse, their future largely dependent upon their zip code or their parents' income. And so, my family has been blessed, as many other families have, to be able to choose the type of school that fits our child's needs. And we've been blessed to be able to do that. Not all families can do that, either because those choices simply don't exist in their communities, or if they do, they're limited. They may not have seats available to accommodate the demand. Maybe they charge tuition and the family is just unable and doesn't have the means to choose that option for their child, even if it might be the best thing for the child.
Geographically, we've seen charter schools especially grow in recent years. Geographically, are there underserved areas that we're looking to grow in the coming years when it comes to charters?
There absolutely are. We have been able to expand school choices, particularly in New Orleans, also in the Baton Rouge region, some in North Louisiana as well. But when you look across the state, there are many communities, particularly in rural and suburban communities, where there may only be one option. It's that neighborhood school where students are assigned to, and oftentimes that's a choice that works for those families. But we know that all children are different. What works for one child may not work for another. So it's important that parents have multiple options to choose from.
Okay, this is entering a part of the conversation that's going to get kind of difficult from a charter school perspective, because when you're talking about these more rural locations, if there is only one choice, there's often not enough demand to be created to build out another school in that area. I mean, there's one school for a reason. There's just not a whole lot of demand going on. So how can we eliminate the supply and demand part of the equation and just look at servicing need?
Well, I don't know that I would agree that there's not demand. As we go out and talk to families, we hear from families that actually there is an overwhelming demand for choices. Mm-hmm. And again, that goes back many times to what's in the best interest of the child. Just because a family may say it's not working for my child, that's not necessarily an indictment on that school or that teacher in the child's classroom, but it may just not work for that child. So we actually hear overwhelmingly from parents that there is demand. And but at the same time, opening new schools is a hard thing. It's not easy. And so we do have a lot of work to do to make sure that we preserve multiple great options. We need every option, public school option and others, to be high-quality options.
What kind of results are we seeing from charter schools when it comes to testing, getting kids to do better on tests that qualify them for the next level?
I think we're seeing very strong results. We're seeing results in schools that serve predominantly low-income students who come to school with special needs. And we are seeing schools that have been able to work with those students who in some cases are multiple years behind or have other special needs, and to be able to work with them to make real progress. Now, sure, there are schools in every different setting, traditional public, charter schools, private schools, where some schools have been able to do that more effectively than others. And I don't believe that that's something that we can just characterize an entire sector of schools as better than another. Mm-hmm. But it's up to us to make sure that we give parents access to information about how their child's school is doing, and ultimately hold them accountable for how they're using those taxpayer dollars, and arm parents with information on how that school is doing with children who have needs similar to their own, so that they can make the best choices.
Erin Bendily is the VP for Policy and Strategy with the Pelican Institute for Public Policy. We're talking about National School Choice Week, which is this week. Erin, there were a number of arguments when we first started being introduced to charter schools in Louisiana. One of those arguments was that opting for a charter school is turning your back on the public education system. How have we seen that argument either be squashed, evolved, or changed over the years since charters have grown?
Well, Brian, I couldn't disagree more with that characterization or with that argument.
Hey, I just put it out there. I didn't say I agree with it.
Absolutely. I totally understand. I would argue that more choices are always better than fewer. And I think when we put the needs of children first, then the systems that we need in place and the schools that we need to have in place for them, you know, that's how we need to approach this work. It's not necessarily about how will a particular system be impacted. I think we do a disservice to children when we start with those arguments first, not to say that they aren't, you know, they don't include some legitimate questions, but ultimately we have to look beyond the need to sustain systems or to address, frankly, what are often adult issues and needs, and focus on what's best for the children.
And focusing on the children is where this whole thing started. And any argument outside of that gets, it's vanity. It's vanity and territorialism after that. So I put it out there because that was one of the arguments from the start.
Sure.
What we're seeing in Baton Rouge, and I speak with the folks from New Schools for Baton Rouge regularly on this show, one of the things we're seeing in Baton Rouge is more specialized education coming to us from charter schools. We have schools that are looking at a more specific curriculum to put people in the workforce rather than just college preparatory, and dual enrollment is a growing trend as well. Statewide, are we looking at something similar when it comes to, you know, more like a high school that would be more focused on engineering or science-based or STEM-based, that sort of thing? Are we looking at more specialization on a high school level?
I think we're looking at all of that, and all of those things are super exciting. Even to me as a parent, I had the ability to put my child in a foreign language immersion-focused school in a magnet program. And we have too few schools that offer opportunities like that. But at the same time, we see that that's what parents want. Very early on, they recognize that their children have certain interests and certain strengths. They also know what it's going to take to thrive in this type of global competitive economy. They want to set their kids up for success. They want to expose their children to different ways of learning and, frankly, make learning fun. You know, keep that joy of learning going. And so I think we see more schools and school systems, not just in the charter space, but also traditional schools that are feeling the pressure from parents to meet that need and to provide those innovative learning options.
Okay, so how do we go from there to not cross the line where kids are still kids? Like, one of the examples we have here in Baton Rouge, we have the Helix Aviation Academy, and I think everybody is welcoming this in with open arms because it's a fantastic idea and it's super duper exciting. But how do we not cross the line to where we turn our kids into just the future workforce? Let them be kids. Let them create. They don't have to know what they need to do for a living for the rest of their lives at 14 and 15 years old.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to have a number of different choices. Again, some students will be ready for that. They will be excited to participate in those types of innovative programs. It may not be what's best for every child. So I think you're always going to have a portfolio of schools that will attempt to address the needs of the students in their community. And by having different options, you give power to those parents and those families to choose the thing that sparks that interest in their child, that thing that resonates, that keeps them excited about learning. And it is possible to do both. It's possible to have innovative programs like we've just discussed, and it's also necessary to have more traditional schools whose mission is to meet the needs of all students and make sure that they're all on track to be college and career ready.
We got Erin Bendily from the Pelican Institute talk about National School Choice Week. So what's on the calendar? Are there events for this week? What are we looking at?
Well, this week we're just taking the time to, one, make sure that parents understand what school choice is, understand the choices that are available throughout Louisiana and in their communities, and also identify maybe some things that aren't in their communities. Let them know perhaps what exists elsewhere that they can advocate for to bring to their hometown. We're also just looking to get parents involved in this movement to advocate to be able to understand how to advocate for their child to give them a better education. So it's an exciting week of sharing information, of having parents learn about different options, and again, most importantly, a call to action to make sure that every child has the opportunity to find a school that fits.
Erin Bendily, VP of Policy and Strategy for the Pelican Institute for Public Policy, talk about National School Choice Week. Thank you so much for hopping on board today.
Thanks, Brian.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Speaking of Pelican Institute, we're going to have to get them back on next week to talk redistricting. But, well, we'll pick this up after Your Money Now. Huh. I should have asked Dusty about Theo. I didn't even think about that. I still haven't talked to him. It's been 3 years since I've talked to him. You want to see who's there?
Top 107.3.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yep. Okay.
Do you want any cuts? Do you want anything from my end for the segment?
No. Where's my 9:20? Okay, so we're not going to do this on YouTube. I'm going to record it for later playback. Yeah. Okay. 8:56, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. One segment to go here on Mornings with Brian Haldane. Been quite the ride this morning. We've been all over the place. We talked about the budget. We talked about COVID and Mardi Gras. We talked about Washington Mardi Gras. We had the king of Washington Mardi Gras on. Richard Lipsey was fantastic. If you missed out on him earlier in the show, he was on in the first hour. It's available on demand at talk1073.com. I'm a huge fan of what's about to go down at the Washington Hilton, or the Capitol Hilton, whichever one they call it, in Washington, D.C. Washington Mardi Gras is back after a one-year hiatus after a COVID cancellation last year, and it's just such a wonderful event. Can't wait to be back at it again. I think we'll be involved in it again next year for sure. But as it moves, you know what? We got Congressman Garrett Graves tomorrow for D.C. Current. The congressman is captaining this year, so we'll talk with him about it a little more tomorrow. Hey, thanks again to Erin Bendily from the Pelican Institute for talking National School Choice Week. Thanks again to Andy Maas from LSU talking about that Business Development Center. That sounds like such a cool hub to just put like if you got a 5-person outfit or a 50-person outfit or up to a 500-person outfit, they can help you strategize, help you plan, help you market. Maps, demographics, numbers, strategy, like it's all there. Very cool stuff. Also, thanks to Dan Eberhart. Talk about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. It's, I've had the conversation a number of times with our elected officials, whether that be Garrett Graves or Senator Bill Cassidy or whoever that might be that we've talked with. We've talked with Stephen Wagasback from the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry about the same topic. Just put people back to work. Don't worry about the Strategic Petroleum Reserve right now. We just put people back to work. We can either refill the reserve or just start pumping gas. It's what we do. And if you don't want the rest of the world mucking up your environment, do it yourself. Also, comedian Dusty Slay was fantastic. I was just sending the thank you email to the guy that booked him. He's like, I assume everything went to plan. Oh, yeah, it went to plan. That guy was great. It's all available on demand at talk1073.com. Hey, want to remind you one more time that if you're not watching the show on YouTube, I strongly suggest you go over to our YouTube page, Mornings with Brian Haldane on YouTube. Go ahead and watch the show there because, honestly, there wasn't as much behind the scenes today as there normally is, but tomorrow, Attorney Franz Borghardt is going to be in for Legally Served. It really ramps up and leaves the rails when we hit break. Some things that the Federal Communications Commission would not allow us to say on air, sometimes they slip through. Also got a few more things in store for tomorrow that I don't want to spoil, but we'll be back at it from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Hey, stick around. The Fox News Rundown's coming your way right here on Talk 107.3. They will be followed by the Brian Kilmeade Show. Kilmeade will be followed by Ramsey. And, of course, Ramsey will be followed by Jay Ducote from 4 to 6 this afternoon. What else is in store for tomorrow? Oh, I'm looking at the clock. I don't have time to go out through what else is in store for tomorrow. Let's get you to CBS News here. Hey, thank you so much for listening. We'll be back at it 6 to 9 for Mornings with Brian Haldane tomorrow on Talk 107.3. Okay, YouTube. I got to skedaddle. I'm going to head downstairs for a quick informal hallway meeting, and then I'll be back at it for Eric Roberts. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Later.